He was reborn as the weakest race, as a goblin. But this race has an insane passive. He can get stronger by mating. Yeah, you didn't misunderstand. He gets more powerful by having babies. And he can do it with any species. Humans, other goblins, and even elves.
Yeah, boy.
But don't get your hopes up. If you reincarnate in an isekai, you won't get a power like that. And you'd better hope you don't reincarnate with titans chasing you. Also, it's not like his life is sweet like honey just because of that. Our protagonist has already been captured, brutally tortured, more crushed than the Patriots in the last Super Bowl, to the point they completely broke him. He grew to hate the human race even though he was one in his past life. But let's go back to the beginning so you can see the taste of this revenge. After the chief died, the goblins fought. They were biting each other's noses, is that even right? They wanted to be the new chief. They even wanted the old prey the chief left behind. They could smell mating in the air. But there was one different goblin, who called himself the guardian of that prey. Suddenly he hears something, and runs to see what's going on. A bunch of goblins were attacking the girl. You know exactly what was about to happen.
Why?
When they saw the different goblin, they got furious and attacked. But he took out one of his brothers easily. This goblin had a weapon. And because of that, all the others ran off in panic. The girl thanks the goblin for saving her again. The problem is, he wasn't always a goblin. He was a human named Lin Tian, but he got taken out by Truck Kun. It's always you, huh, Truck Kun? Now he's a goblin, and he has a system, even though it looks like it hasn't been 100% initialized yet. The girl also taught him things about this world. The gods created it and created monsters too. Humans have powers as well, but he reincarnated as the weakest, most despicable monster. Even among goblins he's weak because of his stats. But we can't forget he can get stronger by mating. And this one here already looks like she's got a full belly. Naturally, there are no female goblins, so they need to mate with other species. The problem is, he used to be human, and that feels wrong. The girl says he's different, and that he doesn't want to live with those goblins. Then she talks about a group of knights arriving, and that they'd let him live in the village if she explains. But suddenly he hears goblins coming. He yells for the curvy girl to run with him. A goblin actually shows up, but he was running around saying the humans arrived and that he wanted to mate to get strong. Even at the end of its life, the beast's instinct is to find a hole. With a single hit, he sent his brother to go mate in hell. Looks like the humans really did come. The girl happily says it must be the knights and even cries with joy. Come to think of it, our goblin, even though he's weak, is kinda pot-bellied, right? Suddenly he stops. A man was using a skill right in front of him and wiped out several of his brothers at once. That guy was really strong. He was mad because the goblins tore his new cape, but the problem was his status. It was way too high. Is he really a human? The girl yells that they're there, but our little potbelly just keeps thinking. Suddenly he realizes something is wrong. The knight's sword was already about to cut the girl in half. He saves her, and she falls into a very mating-looking pose. At first, Potbelly thought he might have been mistaken because of the darkness, but he gives off an aura that makes it seem like it wasn't that. The girl claims her name is Kalia, and he says he knows that, but he says she's already been corrupted by the goblins, and might even be pregnant with theirs. She cries and says she wasn't corrupted thanks to him. She says that while pointing at Potbelly saying he saved her, but the knight doesn't care. Potbelly runs. He shoves her, telling her to run, while he grabs the staff. He'll probably die from this hit, but the hit didn't reach him thanks to a golden light. A woman ordered Loder the knight to stop. Kalia asks the saint to save her, begging with all her strength. The saint asks if the goblin can understand what she's saying. This was his chance to get out of here. He says yes. He quickly tells everything about being a human, and not being from this world. After seeing the saint, he's probably wanting her blessings. Loder is impressed, while the saint says he is a gift from the Holy Mother. The blonde woman asks if he really didn't attack her, and Kalia confirms it. So they decide to take the goblin to analyze him later. The saint asks if he accepts, and right away he says yes. With a snap of her fingers, she undoes the barrier. While walking, she orders Loder to do it. The fat guy was about to start thanking her for being saved, but she cuts him off saying yes. Suddenly, Kalia gets stabbed somewhere else, not in the mating spot. What is happening? The one he suffered so much to protect was taken out by her own companions? The saint, with a nasty look and two huge melons, says he better pay her back properly when they return. A week after what happened, Loder was giving a speech in the square, talking about having wiped out the goblins. The whole population cheers for revenge. He lies, saying the goblins killed Kalia, but that it's already been dealt with. The saint says the sanctuary will always protect the devoted, and that's how they controlled the masses. The more prayers, the stronger the sanctuary would be. I barely gave the pedal one turn and the chain already popped off. Suddenly someone calls out for Saint Evelia. She looks at him with disdain. Our fat guy is completely busted up. He yells furiously, cussing her out with everything he's got. She just praises him for his vitality, for still being alive, but says she's going to test the effects of the poisons on the goblin. That makes him furious. He yells that she fooled everyone and even killed Kalia, but she just stabs him. Kalia was killed because she was seduced by a goblin and spoke on his behalf. That's betrayal against humanity. To Evelia, goblins are just parasites, and he should accept her using his body to help with human experiments. But is he going to die? Was his mistake reincarnating with a human? Merciful heart? He was tortured every day just for fun until he was killed. If he had another chance, he'd never trust humans again. He would get revenge on every last one of them. Suddenly he finds himself somewhere else, The system warns him he was the dumbest of all the transmigrators and offers him the chance to restart. At least the system is honest. Only now he understood that his system had to die to activate. He was offered to go back 1 week in time with his current memories. This was a chance for revenge. With his own hands, he's going to get revenge on Loder and Evlia. So he returned to the goblin's nest, but this time with a small boost from the system. The system warns that if he dies again, it's all over, and that the humans are coming. He also has the ability to simulate a decision, and he can use it once a day, so he quickly activates it. In the current scenario, the cave has been discovered by Loder, and he needs to escape death. The options would be, warn the other goblins, abandon them and run, and lastly, hide and pray that Loder doesn't find him. But he knows that even if he gathers the goblins, they wouldn't stand a chance. Even so, to test it, he chose the option that gave him the most system points. But in that simulation, he got killed by the human group for overestimating the goblin's strength, but he gained the 10 points. He already knew he couldn't trust the goblins, but now he has points and decides to open the exchange window. There are various weapons at different prices, but with 10 points, he can only buy an elven dagger. That gives him 10% speed and 15 strength. Our former fat guy asks why he still hasn't found Kalia. The system warns that because of his rebirth, some details changed and Kalia wasn't captured. So now he just has to escape and survive. At the cave entrance, some guards say goblins are disgusting. Our goblin pinches his nose and imitates a girl calling for help. The guards get excited to kill the survivor even if they're human, since it's Loder's order. Sneaking in, smiling. He tells the person not to be afraid, but then he gets hit right in the head. The revenge is only just beginning. The wounded soldier starts shaking in pain. The other guard walks over, asking why he's taking so long, not realizing what's happened. Lintine smiles, thrilled that the plan is working. Quickly, our boy rushes at another guard, his super sharp dagger making the guy freeze, clueless about what's happening. Lintine snaps a punch into the soldier's face, and the man starts to crumple. Fueled by rage and pure agility, the kid leaps on top of him and goes to work. Just like Lintine guessed, the dagger is insanely sharp. He carves a huge cut into the soldier, and the guard panics, collapsing to the ground, thinking it's over. The soldier asks if Lintine can speak the human language. Then he begs for mercy, pleading with the kid not to finish him. Trying to tug at Lin's sympathy, the soldier pulls out a photo of his family, saying they're waiting for him at home. When he sees the kid hesitate and realizes Lin understands him, the guard calls Tian smart and claims he was only following orders from the Holy Order. Then he tries to buy trust, promising gold and young women, fresh and juicy, all while planning to grab his weapon and strike. Thinking Lintine got distracted by the bait, the guard lunges like a sneaky rat, calling him a stupid beast. But the soldier doesn't get what he expects. With speed and that brutal dagger, Lintine cuts down the sneaky rat before he can even reach him. The kid kicks off the first part of his revenge. Our protagonist is dead set on making the most of his last chance at reincarnation in a world where humans betrayed him. Lintine feels more and more certain his revenge will succeed. Then he hears Loder's voice nearby and thinks the captain is coming to capture him. He puts his plan into motion and takes the guard's clothes. Leaving the area with the soldier's outfit in hand, Lintine says he'll soon find Loder and Ephraia. At that moment, the captain and the saint arrive at the spot where the guards were taken down. Loder wonders if goblins could really have finished off those soldiers. Ephraia thinks a little monster that took out 2 guards might be a mutant. The captain tells his ally that if that's true and the news spreads through the village, the consequences could be catastrophic. Stepping on the fallen guard, Loder seethes, calling him useless for losing to a single goblin. Meanwhile, the sadistic Ephraia lights up at the thought of a mutant little monster, saying it'll be a lot of fun. With a dark look, almost turned on by the idea of a different goblin, the little saint says that if they catch him, she's going to have a lot of fun with it. Then we're back in the forest where the kid escaped. Lin Tian feels relieved, seeing his plan finally working, and knowing he made it out of that cave. While eating, he says he'll deal with his enemies the goblin way, using veracity to boost his stats and expand his influence. With a dark stare, swallowed by hate, Lin says that in this life he'll make every man's only wish be death, and every woman will desire him and cry at his feet. Hearing the bushes rustle, he wonders if Loder and the others still haven't given up. Then Lin Tian spots someone hooded stepping out from behind the brush. He attacks immediately, not giving the intruder a chance to counter. Startled, the figure trips on a rock. Lin Tian stops short, shocked to see it's a goblin. He can't believe it. He's even more stunned when the goblin speaks, talking and expressing herself like he can. Still, he doesn't drop his guard. Whoever this is, she was hiding. Then something hits him even harder. Lin Tian can't figure out why this goblin has feminine features, because goblins are only male, and that's why they can only reproduce with other species. The frightened female begs him not to hurt her, and says she only came to get water, which makes him suspicious. Lin Tian can't wrap his head around a little monster. Speaking in full sentences, he checks her status and sees something that makes his blood run cold. If a male mates with a female of the same species, he'll become a goblin god. Lin Tian is amazed as he realizes that if he hooks up with her, it could be the perfect chance to become strong enough to face his enemies. Desperate and fearing for her, the girl tells Lin Tian her boss sent her to fetch water, and if she comes back without it, he'll beat her until he's done. She freezes when she realizes a goblin is talking to her, and even trying to calm her down. Lin Tian warns her that if she keeps crying, she'll draw Loder and his group straight to them. Still stunned, she asks if he can really speak like she does. He says yes. Lin Tian remembers goblins usually can't speak coherently, which is why she never talked much with the others in her tribe. Grateful, the girl tells him he's kind. She says the little monsters usually hit her and insult her, then asks if he wants to come with her to the village. Lin Tian spots another chance to get stronger. He perks up and asks if there's really a goblin tribe nearby, but he stays cautious. He doesn't know if Loader's group is still on his trail, and finding somewhere safe matters most. Still, with revenge on his mind and power as the goal, he tells her he'll go with her to the goblin village. He admits he's been wondering where he could find subordinates to recruit, and asks her to take him to her tribe. Soon, the village comes into view. When the goblins notice someone unfamiliar approaching, they watch from a distance, curious. Then they start mocking Lin Tian's clothes for looking human, calling him a weird creature. Lin Tian sees an opening to start his revenge plan against this tribe. Determined to earn their trust, he says he's here to join them and asks them to call their leader. The goblins laugh, saying the chief isn't someone he can see, just because he feels like it. Annoyed, the girl snaps at them, saying Lin Tian isn't a bad person, and telling them not to do anything rash. Then a voice cuts in, asking why the whole tribe is gathered in one place, making so much noise. Lin Tian's eyes light up as the goblin chief finally appears. The leader storms in, furious, demanding to know who's causing trouble in his tribe. Lin Tian quickly checks the chief's stats, then looks surprised. There's a high-level goblin here. The chief turns to the girl and asks if she brought the outsider. She says she did because he had nowhere else to go. The leader looks pleased and thanks her. Then, without warning, the chief orders the goblins to kill Lin Tian and eat him. The girl panics as the monsters close in. Lin Tian yanks out his dagger. He holds the knife up for the chief and the others to see, and says he knows how to make weapons like it. If they let him into the tribe, he can make everyone stronger. The chief, intrigued, orders them to stop. The leader steps closer, hungry for power. He says Lin Tian doesn't seem to be lying, and asks what kind of weapon he can make. Lin Tian puts his plan into motion. He says that if they can find ore, he can forge simple iron weapons, and with time make something even stronger. To seal it, he tells the chief those daggers would let them defeat monsters, even humans. The goblins erupt with excitement, talking about having meat, not needing to hide in the forest anymore, and how they prefer fresh elves. The chief decides to give Lin Tian a chance. He orders the tribe to find iron ore for 3 days so Lin Tian can make the weapons, and says if he fails, they'll finish him off. Then the chief points at the girl. She's going too, and if Lin Tian can't deliver, she'll die with him. After giving the orders, the leader leaves. Lin Tian hugs the girl and mutters that the old guy is cruel, not even sparing his own people. He says he'll have to make some weapons to buy time and get stronger. With that, he moves toward his goal. With a few goblins and his new friend, Lin Tian heads out to search for iron ore as ordered. Then the girl tells them to wait, saying she's exhausted because they've been walking all day. Annoyed, one of the little monsters kicks the girl. Furious, the goblin hits her, calls her ugly, and says if she doesn't find ore, he'll finish her off. She promises she won't complain anymore. The others pile on too, hitting her, calling her lazy, laughing, saying they'll finish her off. Out of nowhere, our boy hurls a rock and nails the little monster who was kicking her. Defending his new friend, Lin Tian tells them he brought them to find iron ore, not to fight. He's fed up too. He already explained what to look for, and if they want to live, they'd better start obeying him. Otherwise, they'll all be finished off by his dagger. The little monsters start trembling. They back away from the girl, muttering that the guy will finish them off with iron weapons. Then they threaten him instead, saying when he's done, the chief won't forgive him. Lin Tian's stomach tightens. They're right, even if he completes the task in 3 days, it's only a matter of time before he gets finished off. He looks at the girl and remembers something. If a male goblin mates with a female of the same species, he'll become a legendary divine goblin. Seeing her shaking, he tells her not to cry and calls her Lula. He steps closer to calm her down. Lin Tian cups Lula's face and asks if she wants to stay with him. If she agrees, he'll protect her, give her food, a warm place to live, and she won't be attacked anymore. Determined to get stronger, he says he always keeps his promises, but they're too weak to fight and he needs her help to get stronger. Lula, excited at the chance to stop being beaten by those horrible little monsters, asks how they could get stronger. Lin Tian tells her that if she's willing to have children with him, it'll make him stronger, and then he'll keep his promise to protect her. Confused and embarrassed, Lula admits she's never mated with a male. Lin Tian tries to reassure her. If she agrees, she won't need to worry. He'll take care of the rest. Then something unexpected happens. Lin Tian leans in and kisses Lua. He takes her hands like he's starting some playful game. Willing to help her friend get stronger, Lua begs Lin Tian to let her have his babies. When he tries to have children with her, the system tells the reincarnated guy they'll have 7 children, and that this will increase his level cap. It also says that because of the increased cap, he receives +9 attack, +100 HP, and +10 defense. Lin Tian's physique shifts completely. After the upgrades, he checks his strength stats. Muscular and thrilled, he says he didn't just level up, his body changed too, and now they'll have a better chance of defeating the goblin priest. Right after that, he takes off the clothes that don't fit anymore. He comforts Lua and tells her that now she belongs to him, and he'll protect her like he promised. Lua looks at him with love and calls him kind. Then they hear screams and cries for help from the goblins searching for iron ore. A huge magical wolf bursts out, attacking a little monster running for his life, clutching something in his arms. Lin Tian's surprised they actually found iron ore, but they found trouble too. Keeping his promise, he tells Lua to wait while he heads toward the magical wolf. The beast is about to devour the little monster. Lin Tian charges straight in. With his sharp dagger and new strength, he strikes the wolf in the neck, saving the goblin holding the ore. The little monster freezes, staring in panic. Lin Tian drops the wolf with that single brutal strike. As it falls, Lin Tian absorbs the beast's magical power. He congratulates the goblin for finding the ore, says the material quality is good, and orders them to find more. When they return, they'll make the weapons. After gathering all the ore they need, the group heads back to the village. When they arrive at the tribe, the goblins are amazed when they realize Lin Tian really did make an effective weapon. Right then, our boy gives them a clear demonstration of what his creation can take down, even wild beasts. Lin Tian shows the chief and the goblins a spear forged from iron ore he collected in the forest. Excited, one of the little monsters, already looking different after getting stronger on the hunt, tells the tribe he saw the boy defeat a magic wolf and save them. Trying to win the goblins' trust, Lin Tian lifts the spear and asks if they want a weapon that powerful. Everyone yells yes. The tribe chief, though, looks uneasy about the boy's success. He takes control, slamming his staff into the ground. Then the priest tells Lin Tian he really didn't lie. The chief praises him for being able to make iron weapons, but he's not done. Trying to prove the boy isn't some hero, the leader tells Lin Tian that if he wants to stay in the tribe, it won't be easy. He'll have to make 50 more spears in just 2 days. After the chief demands an almost impossible number in such a short time, the goblins start whispering about how awful he is, comparing him to humans. Lin Tian, meanwhile, looks pleased. His plan to win over the little monsters is working. To the leader's surprise, our boy delivers all 50 spears right on time. Lin Tian tells the chief the weapons are finished and delivered, and the goblins celebrate his success. Seeming happy to see him pull off the near impossible, the leader praises him again. Then the priest announces everyone will eat meat to celebrate Lin Tian joining the tribe, sending the little monsters into a frenzy. Everything is going exactly as the boy planned. Everyone's thrilled for a big meat feast. That's when Lua hands Lin Tian a piece of roasted meat, saying it's especially for him, an offering from the priest himself. Our boy accepts it and starts eating the tribe leader's gift. Then something goes wrong. Lin Tian starts to feel sick. Worried, Lua asks if he's okay, as the boy chokes after swallowing the meat. The tribe chief quickly approaches, and the girl freezes in fear. The treacherous leader sneers, calling Lin Tian stupid for trusting him. He says he knew the boy was ambitious, and that challenging his authority will only get him killed. Then the chief puts his hand on Lua's head, holding the girl, convinced Lin Tian is too weak to protect her. The priest asks the boy if he really likes that female. Seeing Lin Tian cares about Lua, the leader tells him to enjoy watching her throat get cut, calling her a traitor. Determined to make an example of her and teach Lin Tian a lesson, the chief says he'll do it so the boy never shows off in front of him again. It looks like Lua's end has come, right there in front of the priest's sharp claws, but then Lin Tian stands up. In a flash, he strikes the chief's arm, shocking everyone and saving his companion. The leader, so confident a second ago, turns pale, trying to understand how the boy, supposedly weakened by poison, could move like that. Sarcastic, Lin Tian mocks the old man, calling him stupid and treacherous for falling into his trap. He tells the priest he already knew he'd try to poison him, and he only played along to make him believe it worked. Realizing he's been fooled, the old man explodes with rage, missing an arm and desperate to finish Lin Tian. The leader charges. Our boy squares up, ready. Quick and agile, Lin Tian slips past the attack and lands another blow on the tribe chief. Now it's the chief who looks finished, and Lin Tian, with his super sharp dagger, is the one who'll end it. After dodging the old man's strike, our boy counterattacks and cuts off the treacherous rat's head. Just like that, the old goblin's tyranny ends. The moment their leader is decapitated, the little monsters panic, unsure what happens next. Lin Tian steps toward them, and they shrink back, fear rising with every step. Then he says what matters. From that moment on, Lin Tian declares he is the new leader of the tribe. He tells the goblins he'll lead them to attack the elves and the humans. Raising his powerful dagger, our boy promises them they'll have meat forever under his rule. The goblins go wild over their new boss's promises and start cheering. Lin Tian points at the old man's body and offers it to his soldiers as a celebration gift. Before long, the little monsters swarm the dead traitor. Mindless and starving, they devour the former leader, executioner. Lin Tian stays cold and determined. Taking over the tribe is only the beginning of his revenge. Next, he'll make the elves raise a stronger generation for his tribe. But something is watching, slipping through the bushes. A beautiful elf spies from the forest's edge, horrified by what she's seeing. Nearby, a strange structure sits high in a tree, with goblins hanging from it as a warning to intruders. A girl brightens when she sees her princess has returned. The spy is an elf princess. The girl asks her to wait because the matriarch is busy, but the young woman insists she has an urgent report. The princess pushes open the door to her mother's chambers, saying she has something important to report about the magical eastern forest, and walks into something she didn't expect. Inside, Kasana finds the curvy queen being courted by several male elves. Kasana freezes, mortified to catch her mother fooling around while danger closes in. Before Kasana can back out, the queen tells her to wait and asks what could be so urgent that she barged in like that. Kasana repeats that she has an important report about the goblin tribe in the forest. Curious and arrogant, the queen scoffs. What could possibly be so urgent about weak, filthy creatures? Kasana tells her she found a big black bear eaten in the magical forest, and she doesn't believe goblins could have killed it. She adds that a few days ago she saw the old leader of the little monsters tribe get finished off by a mysterious young man, and she wonders if it's connected. But her mother only seems to care that there's a new chief. Still arrogant, the queen orders Cassina to take elf soldiers and organize an operation to deal with the possible threat and not to kill them all at once. Stroking a male elf as she speaks, the curvy, beautiful leader explains that goblin hearts are valuable ingredients for potions used by the tribe. Cassina, burning with embarrassment, says she understands the importance of keeping some little monsters alive. Then the naughty queen tells her daughter she's worked hard lately, and as a reward she'll give her an elf to satisfy her, or if she wants she can choose even more. Cassina, completely flustered, leaves, saying she'll investigate at night and return to report if anything happens. Back with the goblins, they plan the attack. Using branches as markers, they make a map and tell Lin Tian the Forest of 1,000 Wonders has about 30 houses in the trees. Pleased with the work, Lin Tian tells his best soldier that when they conquer the elves, he'll get 2 elf girls as a reward. The goblin practically shakes with excitement. Fired up by the promise, Lin Tian's right-hand man says he'll order the others to prepare the weapons. Lin Tian starts putting his strategies into motion. Using the intel, Lin Tian calculates 2 elves per house, 70 total, including 10 in the mines. Wanting to make his tribe stronger, he announces that from now on, they'll hunt in the magical forest. The goblins erupt with excitement. Hunting lets Lin Tian boost his stats, gain more agility, and pick up a wider variety of skills. The goblins also grow stronger in the magical forest. Tirelessly, Lua and Lin Tian hunt magical monsters, stacking skills and steadily increasing their strength. The goblins start using group attacks to bring down bigger beasts and share the stat gains. With the tribe's Devour skill, they absorb ability after ability, raising the overall level to 18 and total power to 250. Lin Tian analyzes the numbers and concludes each elf has around 200 strength. That means the goblin tribe's total power has already surpassed the elves overall. Still, he's invading enemy territory, so he plays it safe. Lin Tian uses the system to simulate an attack and study the results. At his request, the goblin's life simulation begins. Lin Tian leads the goblin army, now massively stronger toward the elves, confident the attack will succeed. Because of Lin Tian's overconfidence, the little monsters walk straight into an ambush. They get caught in a trap and wiped out. Our protagonist is captured by the elf matriarch and hanged in the Forest of 1,000 Wonders as a warning to the other goblins. Long story short, the system says Lin Tian thought he had everything under control, but he was already in the enemy's hands. In disbelief, he can't accept the outcome after what the simulation showed him. That's when Lin Tian realizes the goblin tribe has been watched the whole time, which is how the elves set up the ambush. Strategic now, the new leader tells the soldiers the little monsters have sharp hearing and smell, and orders everyone to focus and find clues about the spy. Soon he picks up something hidden in the forest. Using his magic power, our boy spots the spy behind a tree. On a beautiful moonlit night, without realizing she's been found, the princess and her soldiers pull back fast, planning to inform the matriarch about a possible attack. Then several shiny arrows fly toward the fugitives. Somehow one nails the princess right in the butt. Cassina screams in desperation, unable to believe she's been captured. Right after that, she drops to the ground. The beautiful princess panics when she realizes she's paralyzed by the arrow, just like her soldiers, while the goblins praise Lin Tian for hitting an elf. Worried, our boy wonders if the prisoner's body is reacting strangely because of the poison. Sarcastically, Lin Tian tells the princess he didn't think it would be this easy to capture them. Pleased, the plan is going even better than he imagined. He tells Cassina they showed up at the perfect time. Then the new goblin leader orders them to bring all the elf prisoners back to the tribe. Back in the village, one of the little monsters yells to throw water on the elf, saying the boss has arrived. Cassina looks completely worn out as Lin Tian approaches. Our boy says goblin bodily fluid has a special effect on females, paralysis and arousal. It boosts their chances against the elves, since the elves are matriarchal. Furious and barely able to move, the princess demands to know how filthy creatures dare capture her and still plan to attack the elf tribe. Cassina tells Lin Tian that without the matriarch's mercy, the elves would have wiped out every goblin already, and if they hurt her, her mother won't forgive them. Sarcastic and confident, our boy mocks the princess. Then the reincarnated guy throws Cassina to the ground, saying he finds it interesting she keeps talking about mercy. Lin Tian tells her the elves she describes and the elves her underlings describe don't sound like the same people. Her soldiers are dumb, but they don't lie. He adds that her tribe could have wiped out every goblin in the forest, yet plenty are still alive, and he doesn't buy that it's mercy. Certain of victory, Lin Tian tells the princess she doesn't need to say anything else. Tonight the goblin tribe will go to the elves and find out the truth. Our protagonist tells the soldiers they can split up the 2 prisoners who were taken out and devour their abilities. The leader of the little monsters looks at the princess and asks what he plans to do with her. Not imagining what's coming, Cassina gets desperate and begs for mercy, but she'll be the next one to get pounded by the future goblin god. After messing around with the princess, Lin Tian's stats go up, unlocking new abilities. Back in the elf tribe, the matriarch looks insatiable. Her subjects beg for a break, saying they can't keep satisfying her because the tonic ran out. The naughty queen says they should have captured more goblins the last time they went hunting. The exhausted subjects stumble in after catering to the matriarch's desires, and she asks about Cassina. One elf says she still hasn't come back. That same soldier asks the tribe's mother if she wants them to search for her daughter and use the chance to finish off some goblins, leveling up the warriors. Worried, the matriarch agrees, saying he'll take some soldiers to support Cassina against the little monster's tribe. Then someone arrives and says the queen's daughter won't be coming back, leaving her terrified, unsure who it is. In the darkness, Lin Tian appears and fires arrows toward the queen. The matriarch soldier takes one right in the forehead. Desperate, the queen catches the next arrow before it hits her. Accompanied by his loyal soldiers, Lin Tian tells the queen he captured her daughter, and that soon Kasana, sarcastically, our boy tells the matriarch that this way, now they'll be a family. Brave, the queen refuses to surrender and grabs a sword to defend her people. She demands to know what Lin Tian did to her daughter. He just mocks her again. Furious, the matriarch charges, swearing she'll finish him off. Lin Tian dodges her attack without any trouble, and tells her the elf tribe is already surrounded. If she surrenders, she might be treated well. Then the stunning elf matriarch freezes, paralyzed by the goblin's poison. Lin Tian tells her the arrow was coated with the little monster's fluid, and it causes paralysis in elves. He advises her to stay still. In that moment, the horny matriarch realizes how easily she was captured. Lin Tian says he heard her talking about upgrade tools and excitement tonics, and he figures that was the goblin's plan for the elves. Facing the blade of her future owner, the matriarch realizes she's staring at the new leader of the little monster's tribe Kasana mentioned, the one she didn't take seriously. The queen flinches when she hears screams for help outside her treehouse. Lin Tian tells her time to decide is running out. He drags the tribe's mother to the window so she can see he's not kidding, then tells her now is the time to talk about cooperation. The queen can't believe what's happening outside her quarters. The elves scream and beg their tribe's mother to save them, saying they don't want to be taken by the goblins. The matriarch grows more desperate by the second. Furious, she demands to know what they did to her village. Lin Tian says that right then the little monsters aren't weaker than the elves anymore. He reminds her that when the elf tribe was strong they wiped out the goblins, and it's only natural the little monsters would take revenge once they got stronger. Lin Tian says he needs more strong goblin warriors, and that's why they still need the elves. As for what happens to them after they've been used, he says it depends on the tribe mother's attitude. The naughty queen finally surrenders, begging for mercy so they'll spare her children and let everyone live. The matriarch kneels before Lin Tian. The beautiful queen agrees to stay and let her elves have children with the goblins, making them stronger. Back in the little monster's village, Kasana is devastated to see that even her mother was captured. The queen apologizes to her daughter for not believing they could be defeated. The matriarch says that right then only defenseless women and children were left to preserve the elves' bloodline. Then she adds that all the elf girls had already played with the goblins. Trying to calm her daughter, the matriarch says that from that moment on they can only survive inside the little monster's tribe. Lin Tian tells the queen and her daughter he'll take care of them all and give them 3 meals a day. But if they have bad intentions, they shouldn't blame him for being cruel and finishing them off. Thinking about what's best for everyone, the matriarch says she got the message. Then the queen tells Lin Tian she has a request. She says they're all her children and asks if he can take care of them. Right then Lua shows up, struggling to handle so many elven and goblin children. Lin Tian understands the matriarch is like this because of the infinite maternal love attribute elves have. Lua calls for the tribe leader, saying she can't take care of all those kids alone. So Lin Tian grants the matriarch's request and lets her take care of the elven children, confident those babies will bring considerable strength to the tribe in the future. With the goal of getting stronger, our boy uses the system to view his status. Looking over the stats, Lin Tian wonders if his qualification has already been unlocked to the highest level, because recently the values he got were converted into attributes. He concludes that right now, he just needs to keep having children to directly increase his power. He looks over his tribe and sees everything is going according to plan. Lin Tian is sure his current strength is already enough to finish off Lopeloder. Little by little, more elf babies with goblin looks are born. But the elf girls feel disgusted after giving birth, begging them to take those terrifying little monsters away from them. Our protagonist asks Lua how many babies have been born so far, and the girl answers that it's between 30 and 40. Next, Kasana shows up desperate and in a lot of pain. Lin Tian looks worried because the princess is pregnant with his child. He rushes to her as she screams through labor. The queen tries to help her daughter, begging the princess not to give up. Terrified for her firstborn, the matriarch pleads with Lin Tian to help deliver the baby, since it's Kasana's first time giving birth. Lin Tian wants to help, and he's worried about Kasana and the child, so he tells Lua to spread the princess's legs. Seeing he's about to help her daughter, the matriarch asks if he really knows how to deliver a baby. He says he knows enough. Kasana doesn't believe him, and says she doesn't want him touching her. Annoyed, Lin Tian tells her to shut up, saying the kids are his too. In the end, he delivers the baby and says the princess is fine now. Afterward, Lua praises Lin Tian for saving Kasana's life. Lin Tian stays humble and says it was nothing special. Then they hear screams from another cage. Lin Tian finds goblins panicking over an elf begging for help because she had just given birth. Something feels off. With his dagger in hand and the matriarch beside him, Lin Tian hurries to the cage where the goblins are trying to take the elf by force and orders them to stop. He warns them to wait until the females recover completely or they'll face consequences. He also orders that from then on, each elf will get an extra portion of fruit on top of the usual. Stunned, the matriarch says he's different from ordinary goblins. Lin Tian tells her the better they behave, the better the treatment will be. Again, Lin Tian uses the simulation to see what his revenge plan looks like after that. It says that after a lot of effort he wins over the elf tribe, gets all the elf women pregnant, and they give birth to goblins with stronger attributes. As the village numbers grow, Lin Tian decides it's time to get revenge on Loder and the others. He sneaks into Brighttown alone and finds the group. After the simulations, the system gives him 3 options, each with a different score tied to its ending. Lin Tian wonders if he really found them, and remembers his current strength is basically the same as Loder's, so he can't underestimate Loder's companions. Believing his attributes are enough to defeat the Lord, Lin Tian chooses option 1, going alone against them. The system says Lin Tian finds Loder, and nearly finishes him off, but then the captain's master appears. The human sword saint saves the Lord. Lin Tian gets taken out by the one who saved his enemy, and afterward the group returns to the capital, and is never seen again. Against the sword saint, there's no chance to escape. Lin Tian will have to be more careful from then on. Lin Tian is stunned by what the simulation shows, trying to understand why someone that powerful would show up in such a small place. He looks at the matriarch and becomes even more certain he needs to hurry and max out his strength. He doesn't see another way, so he decides to act. Lin Tian tells Lua he needs to go into human territory for a few days, and she'll be in charge of the tribe. The queen worries he'll get taken out. Lin Tian tells the matriarch she knows about his feud with humans, and unexpectedly the elf's mother says she can cast a stealth spell on him. Satisfied, Lin Tian tells her that's exactly what he was hoping she'd say, excited by the sudden help. He tells the matriarch he didn't expect her to care about his safety. She says she's only afraid that if he dies, the goblins will be left without a leader. Thinking of her people, the queen reminds him all her children are in that village, and if he comes back alive, everyone will be safe. Lua and the matriarch promise they'll take good care of the tribe while he's gone, as Lin Tian heads toward his goal. Now in Bright Town, people walk, soldiers move through the streets in calm, steady patrols. Looks like a full security team has the area locked down. Seeing that many troops, Lin Tian can't help wondering if the Sword Saint has already arrived, but he's been gathering info all day, and he hasn't heard a single word about her. Still, all this patrolling feels off. Then Lin Tian notices a crowd heading the same way. He follows and finds people gathered around a board showing the adventurer team rankings in Bright City. Lauser sits at the top. Lin Tian narrows his eyes. Did Lauser get stronger just by taking first place? Either way, Lin Tian knows he can't waste time. If he doesn't find more clues soon, his revenge plan falls apart. As he passes a tavern, he hears someone loudly promising drinks on his tab, saying they'll drink until they can't take it anymore. Lin Tian freezes. He knows that voice. Finally, he steps inside and sees Lauser drinking like he doesn't have a care in the world. One of Lauser's companions starts praising him, going on about how Loder and Ifreya saved him from the 4-armed monkey, and the girl piles on talking about how amazing their captain is. Then a member of the Boshi team cuts in, saying it's ridiculous to brag over something that small, like a weak little monster. Lauser's companion snaps, furious, and tells him to get lost and stop talking nonsense. The Boshi member fires back like a kid, saying even if there's some hero team, he'll still beat him up. The tavern owner finally loses patience. He says the dragons have entered mating season and have been snatching cattle, and if these guys are as strong as they claim, they should go stop them. That grabs Lin Tian's attention as he drinks quietly. The owner keeps going. If the evil dragons attack Bright City and the capital doesn't send reinforcements in time, the adventurers won't be able to repel the horde. Everyone's about to face the darkness. Lauder stands, confident. He says there's nothing to fear because he called his master, the Sword Saint. Together they'll join forces against the dragons and defeat them. The tavern goes silent. The warriors stare, stunned that Lauder can summon someone that powerful. Then the soldiers erupt, praising Lauder, saying that if they succeed, he'll be named the hero of Bright City. Lauder raises his voice and says he'll buy drinks for everyone as a pre-celebration for the Sword Saint's arrival and for wiping out the dragons. Lauder Tan takes it as his opening. If beasts are coming to the city, he can use that chaos to strike. He turns and leaves. Lauder notices him heading out even after the offer of free drinks. He calls out, asking if Lauder Tan isn't going to stay and drink. Lauder Tan doesn't even pause. No, cold and direct. He tells Lauder there will be more chances in the future. Lauder frowns, confused. Who turns down free drinks? Bright City is decorated from end to end, waiting for the Sword Saint's arrival. Soon, Lauder approaches his master, who's meditating in a temple. He reports that the evil dragon's hovering distance is getting closer and closer, and they'll probably attack the city soon. At his words, his master grips her weapon and rises. The Sword Saint asks how the task she gave him is going. Lauder answers that the 10 dragon-hunting ballistas were built according to her plans. She warns him that if anything goes wrong, his reputation will be on the line. As they leave the temple, they run into a crowd. People can't believe they're standing before someone so majestic and powerful. Thinking ahead, the Sword Saint tells Lauder this is a special moment. She asks why everyone is just standing around and orders them to prepare for battle. And right on cue, something approaches Bright City. A massive flying beast appears, already clutching a resident in its claws as the streets explode into panic. The Sword Saint's eyes sharpen. That's a scout dragon. She says when it shows up, the full dragon horde follows soon after. She orders Loder to take his companions and follow her to the walls. Elsewhere, a goblin rushes to Lin Tian and tells him a dragon has arrived in the city. The little monster says he went to check and there are soldiers crowd the wall, asking what they should do. Cold and calculating, Lin Tian says it's time to attack. The enemy is almost here, so for now, they wait. Like a true strategist, our protagonist, along with his high-level goblins, decides to enjoy the show. Several dragons fly straight toward the shining city, but a beam of light suddenly slams into one of the flying beasts, right in the wing. Loder and Ifreya stare, shocked by what those weapons can do. The Sword Saint, after striking the dragon and demonstrating the crossbow, asks a soldier if he understood how to use it. The soldiers ready themselves and fire with the weapons the master provided. The flying beasts start dropping one by one, pierced by the crossbows. The warriors cheer at how effective the weapons are against dragons, but then something else draws every eye. Something terrifyingly powerful approaches the shining city. People collapse, clutching their heads, saying it hurts. Loder and Ifreya go pale, like they already know what monster is coming. Then the golden-purple mother dragon appears. The soldiers freeze, muttering that those weapons won't be enough to defeat her. Eyes locked on the city, the beast looks furious. The mother of dragons gathers herself and prepares a devastating attack, then blasts flames at the wall. The soldiers with the dragon-killing crossbows break and run, shouting that the city is going to fall. But something unexpected happens. A powerful magic circle appears, and someone tells them not to panic. The saint steps forward and declares she'll fight the mother dragon herself, ordering everyone else to keep defending the city. The master raises her sword and creates a huge protective field. The barrier doesn't just block the mother dragon's attack, it also stops the other beasts from striking the wall. From the top of a mountain, Lin Tian watches, cautious, waiting for the right moment. He isn't surprised the saint can defend the city from the mother dragon's flames, not with her stats. Still, he admires the insane power the massive beast showed, appearing and attacking immediately. Lin Tian checks the Sword Saint's impressive stats, and understands why she erased the mother dragon's attack without trouble. He points out that Loder's master is seriously powerful, and he feels more at ease knowing he won't need to fight her for his revenge. He says the mother dragon is weaker than the saint, but makes up for it with endurance. Even if the master can land hits with her sword, she won't defeat the beast easily. With the saint tied up fighting the mother dragon, Lin Tian calls it the golden chance he's been waiting for. Determined, he says the moment to get revenge on the human race has finally arrived, and orders the goblins to follow the plan and enter the city. While the capital is being invaded by dragons, no one realizes another danger is closing in. Loder says the flying beasts are hard to deal with, but he has to thank his master's teachings. Thanks to his teacher, the captain says he's now a dragon slayer. Then to Loder's surprise, a resident sprints up in a panic, screaming that goblins are invading the city. We see the captain's team still fighting dragons, and Loder insists the little monsters are dumb, but he doesn't believe they're stupid enough to attack the capital. Then another resident comes running, with several goblins right behind her. Seeing the little monsters for himself, the captain realizes he's in trouble. Like a true hero, Loder orders his companions to handle the remaining dragons, while he and Ifreya take out the goblins. A little monster spots the capital's heroes and bolts. Furious, Loder yells for them not to run, but the goblins plan that escape. And just like that, Loder and Ifreya are captured by the little monsters, exactly as Lin Tian intended. The captain's companions shout that they're coming to save him, but they can't get close with so many goblins surrounding them. Then the vengeful Lin Tian appears without the warriors noticing. Right in the middle of the fight, Loder tries to warn them about the danger behind them. But before the warriors can even defend themselves, Lin Tian takes two of them out easily with his super sharp dagger. At that moment, Loder and the Holy Maiden are desperate when they seeing a goblin take down their companions with that kind of agility. Our boy strolls up and sarcastically mocks the two prisoners, saying he can't believe they got captured so easily. Brave and furious at his warriors getting taken out, Loder yells that he's going to finish off all the filthy goblins. Lin Tian kicks the captain and tells him to look around and stop talking nonsense. Then our boy orders the little monsters to take Loder and Ifreya through the sewers and out of the city, while the rest follow him to the walls to wipe out the beast riders. In the middle of a battle against the Dragon Mother, the Sword Saint hears cries for help from the capital and can't believe the goblins chose that moment to attack. Next, that huge shadowy beast mocks Loder's master, saying they're in trouble. Right then, the Dragon Mother and the Sword Saint lock into a relentless fight, showing her power and mocking the Queen of Beasts. Loder's master asks if she's struggling, then slams her with massive force and puts her in a tight spot. Taking control, the Saint says the Dragon Mother is already basically defeated, and wonders if the warriors managed to deal with the dragons and the goblins. Then a huge explosion goes off on the wall. The chaos in the city pulls the Saint's attention, and the Dragon Mother, who was almost going down, says the little monsters showed up at the perfect time. Realizing the Shining City's savior is distracted, the Dragon Queen escapes fast. While fleeing, the Mother of Beasts tells the Saint that when she recovers, she won't forgive her, leaving the powerful warrior furious that she let that massive beast get away. Full of rage at not finishing the Dragon Queen, the Shining City's savior swears that sooner or later she'll go to Dragon Island and finish them all. After the chaos in the city finally ends, the Saint returns to the ground, irritated to see that Loder and his group couldn't even wipe out simple goblins. One of the warriors tells the city's savior that the captain and Ifreya were captured by the little monsters. The Sword Saint can't believe it. The warrior says those goblins weren't normal. Right then, a member of the captain's group tells the Saint the little monsters were as strong as the great races, and not even Loder could beat them. Furious and thinking about getting her warriors back, the Shining City's savior says she'll go to the Enchanted Forest and exterminate all the goblins. But a resident grabs the Saint's arm, begging her to stay in the city, because if the dragons or the little monsters come back, they'll be finished. Then everyone starts begging the savior to stay, saying they're citizens of the temple and the empire and should be protected by her too. In that moment, the Sword Saint agrees she should protect them instead of chasing a member of the hero's party, because that's her real responsibility. Back in the Goblin Village, everyone celebrates when they see the tribe leader has returned. The tribe's little monsters are stunned to see Lin Tian came back with human prisoners. Without mercy, the holy maiden is thrown to the ground. One of Lin Tian's soldiers orders the prisoners not to cause trouble. Loder is surprised to see the goblins captured several elves. If Freya says she believes there's a hero in that tribe, Loder asks if she's recovered yet, and she answers that the poison in her body is strong but her sacred constitution will soon be complete. Hearing her talk about her powers, Lin Tian sneaks up and mocks her, saying he can't believe she recovered so fast. The girl panics, asking how he knows her name and what his intentions are in capturing them. With a dark look, Lin Tian steps closer to the holy maiden. Our protagonist, hatred burning in his heart, digs his claws into the girl's thigh. If Freya screams in desperation from the pain while Loder can only watch, unable to help her. The captain yells for Lin Tian to stop torturing his companion, but for shouting at the goblin tribe leader, brave Loder gets hit by one of the little monsters. Furious at Lin Tian, the captain asks if he understands the consequences of capturing them, since the Sword Saint will find them and wipe them out. Confident, our boy says Loder's master will be his prey too. He's just waiting for the right moment, and even if she tries to look for them, she'll never find them. Continuing with his plans, Lin Tian tells the goblin Kaoang that he'll be responsible for everyone of the second generation, and orders them to go into the forest to hunt some monsters. Knowing sure he'd be hunted by humans, our boy decides to speed up his evolution and run a questionnaire. With Loge stepping on his chest, Lin Tian asks the captain if he likes capturing goblins and torturing them in secret, like they did to him in another life. Loge snaps like he has no idea what the kid's talking about. Lin Tian gets annoyed, says the captain's answering way too slowly, and decides to take action. With hate burning in his heart, our boy cuts off his enemy's ear. Loge curses, yelling that it hurts like hell. Fueled by rage, the captain tells Lin Tian everything they do is to protect the human race, and that his duty is to wipe out goblins, cursed creatures. Sarcastically, the kid mocks Loder's claims, saying they probably hunt the little monsters to boost the hero's party stats. Like he knows them inside out, Lin Tian says it's easier to finish off prisoners along with the monsters than to save them, and asks how many humans have already died because of that justice. Loder looks genuinely shocked by the accusation. If Freya, already worn out, can't believe it either, wondering how a simple goblin knows so much about what they do. Consumed by hatred, Lin Tian tells them both that unlike them, he doesn't need to pretend. Since he's an evil creature, he's going to teach his enemies a lesson. With barely any strength left, if Freya asks Loder to save her, then the girl starts begging for mercy. Loder panics when he sees his companion being tortured. Lin Tian tells the holy maiden he's going to throw her own words back at her. The lesson is only beginning, so she better hold on tight. Next, our protagonist grabs the prisoner by the neck and says he wants her captain to watch what's going to be done to her. Darkly, Lin Tian hands Freya over to the goblins and says he wants to see how much she can take after everyone tortures her. Loder can't believe it. He's really going to be forced to watch his companions suffer, unable to help. The little monsters start closing in on the holy maiden, just like their leader ordered. One goblin walks up and tells another it's his turn to stand guard over the prisoner. The guard says Lin Tian ordered them to keep her alive. We see how weak Freya has gotten after all that torture, and the guard says she's still fine, just like ordered. Loder tells his companion to hang in there. The girl, barely holding on, tells the captain not to worry because she isn't suffering. The guard shuts the prisoner down, saying he has no right to speak, and steps on his head. Meanwhile, the elf queen, caring for her baby, asks her daughter if Lin Tian really holds a grudge against humans. The girl stresses they're in trouble. Hearing her mother's doubts, Lua shows up and says the boy already mentioned he would take revenge on humans, so yes, he probably does hate them. Starstruck by Lin Tian, the elf queen points out how determined he is, how he never lets an insult go unanswered, and that's why he's the most special goblin she's ever seen. The elf makes an embarrassed face, thinking that even in that area he's powerful. It feels weird to her, like she wants to be even more won over by him. Meanwhile, somewhere else, a goblin reports to the MC that the second-generation elves who went out hunting have returned. They came back early, with a bunch of prey on their backs. The frantic goblin tells the boss they're back, and he's level 33, with stats so developed they almost match the MC's. He's impressed. The MC asks why they came back so early. Was the hunt really that successful? The goblin says they killed all the monsters nearby and could only go west in the forest, but they found big goblins massacring other tribes. The MC asks which western tribe was being slaughtered by the big goblins. Another goblin says it was the Bloodfang tribe. When they split into teams to look for monsters, they found several tribes with their mark. The MC thinks it's interesting they're all big goblins. If they captured their leader, it would be perfect for the resistance plan against the humans. The captured captain starts laughing, calling them fools. They still dared to dream? The knights would crush them quickly. The MC turns and says if he hadn't opened his mouth, he wouldn't even remember the human existed. The goblins move toward the captain, but the MC says there was still another human there. The captain asks desperately what they were planning. A goblin grabs the human captain by the mouth, saying it's finally his turn, and that his skin is way too soft, driving the captain crazy. Evelia stays silent, forced to watch, and a few hours later, the captain is exhausted, face down, completely passed out. Night falls. A goblin asks Lin Tian if they're going to attack the big goblin's tribe. He confirms they are, and that they'll capture their leader too. He's even thought of a new name for the tribe, Mad Sky Tribe. The goblins start yelling and celebrating, calling him powerful. The tribe has a name now, and they chant it non-stop. An elf says they must be strong, defeating so many tribes, but the protagonist says there's no need to worry. He's confident. He still has an ace up his sleeve he hasn't used. And with that, we see Evelia tied up and almost completely naked. The next day, the protagonist watches from a spot with a perfect view. It's time to see their power. He's aiming at the Bloodfang tribe in the enchanted forest. There are a lot of big goblins, but he thinks they can handle it. He sees the leader approaching and notices the goblins look terrified. That's impressive. The leader of the Bloodfang tribe is a goblin hero. The MC sizes him up. He doesn't seem that strong. With a combat power of 900, a dozen goblins would be enough, but capturing him alive will be hard. Paralyzing poison won't do much to a big guy like that, so he needs another solution. If he can use the binding magic Evelia used on him, that should work. He decides to go see her. Back at the Mad Sky tribe, a goblin approaches Lin Tian and says he did what he ordered. The human is almost finished. The MC congratulates him on the good work. The girl begs to be put out of her misery, saying she'll redeem herself before the Lord. The MC wipes her wounds with a warm cloth. She asks who it is, still not looking back. When she turns and sees the protagonist, she starts screaming for him not to come closer, shaking. She screams that she's going crazy. That thing was a demon, that she's in so much pain. The MC slaps her, grabs her from behind, and hugs her, saying the punishment is over. She cries, asking if it's true. He pulls back and says he does what he says, but she needs to choose her faith. She asks what faith. He tells her to choose between believing in God or believing in him, becoming his pet, and escaping the non-stop pain. He says it while stroking the top of her head, and she trembles. Evelia has already decided. The next moment, she takes a deep breath and starts licking the protagonist's fingers. He says, "Very good, Evelia," and caresses her face. Lin Tian says that from now on he'll be her only master, and she'll be called Puppy. Evelia gets on all fours, barks, and calls the MC master. He picks her up and carries her to a well of warm water. He takes off her clothes and bathes her. The pleasure makes her say she'll do anything for him because he's good to her. He says that's perfect, and keeps bathing her. Then the protagonist says he wants to see Evelia use the Holy Light imprisonment skill. She asks what that is. After the bath, he shows her a book and she asks if the holy prison is that thing in there. Evelia focuses and starts a prayer. Her body lifts slightly as the power channels through her, and then a gigantic prison appears in front of her. The MC is impressed by her power. They walk through the tribe's prison. The captain senses them and starts yelling for Evelia to attack the MC and heal his body as fast as possible. The MC says she gave herself to him willingly. The captain doesn't believe it. She's the daughter of the leader of the Holy Church. She wouldn't give in that easily. The MC orders her to kneel and say she's doing all of this of her own free will. She obeys immediately, kneeling and smiling at him. The captain gets desperate at the sight. He leans toward the bars, smiling and drooling with hatred, saying the MC's actions will make the goblin race disappear from the world. The only purpose of the goblin's existence is to be wiped out by humans. The Holy Church would eliminate them all. Lin Tian hadn't expected Evelua's identity to be that, so he thanked the captain for the information and told the goblins to give him a hard time. He called Evelua and told her to get out of there. Now it was time to handle other business. As they left, the MC said they were going to take control of the Bloodprey tribe. At the tribe's hideout, a goblin reported to the chief that everything was ready. Trembling in fear, the chief stood and announced they would attack the tribe to the south, capture all the elves, and have fun with them. The goblins went wild, shouting about their chief's power. Then someone yelled that a goblin had broken in and was looking for the chief. The chief turned, sneering. Where did this lowly goblin come from? The MC stepped forward. He said he was a heroic-level Bloodprey goblin, with intelligence similar to humans, and he was there to talk. Some goblins muttered that he must be a mutant. He said no, he was just a bit smarter than normal goblins. But there was no time for small talk. He said he was the leader of the Mad Sky tribe, and he was taking their chief with him. The rest of them had two choices, submit or die right there. The chief asked if he was the chief of the tribe that breeds elves. The MC said his genes were good, and told him to come with him. The hero goblin called him an idiot. He shouted for him to shut up, then grabbed the protagonist's entire head with one hand and lifted him by it, sneering that he hadn't expected him to come straight to him. Once he finished off the MC, the whole tribe would be his. The goblins roared for their chief to crush him. The MC didn't even flinch. He said talking was pointless. If he didn't want to capture the living Bloodfang tribe chief, he would have already finished him. With a flipping strike, the protagonist sliced the goblin's hand off. The chief screamed in despair, crashed to the ground, clutched his arm, and ordered his underlings to destroy the protagonist. The goblins rushed in to avenge him. Lin Tian snapped his fingers. Come out now. A knife punched through a Bloodfang goblin's chest. Mad Sky goblins shimmered into view, emerging from their invisibility skill. The enemy goblins shouted, asking how they could appear without making any noise. The MC's servant answered, silent steps. Then he yelled for them to wipe out all the Bloodprey tribe goblins. That was the chief's order. Panic spread. Warrior goblins were everywhere. Everyone had walked into the MC's trap. He'd used the negotiations to keep their eyes on him and leave them exposed. The goblins were no match for the chief, so he tried to run. Even as he fled, he screamed that he had to kill the MC first, then charged back in to punch him. The MC stood with his arms crossed and only said one word, Evelea. She began casting Holy Light Prison. A glowing cage snapped into place, trapping the hero goblin. He froze, confused. It was a light spell, and goblins couldn't use light magic. Then, full of hate, he saw something that shocked him even more. Evelea knelt at the MC's feet, calling him master. He praised her, saying she was a good girl, and that she'd gotten even stronger after switching to his side. She thanked him for the praise. Time passed. The hero goblin hung chained in light magic, cursing the MC as a bastard, while Lin Tian told him to be a good breeder. Back at the tribe, the goblin chief was chained to a rock. The MC said taming him had taken a lot of work. He wiped his knife clean and said he was done. Now the chief wasn't a threat anymore. The captain was impressed they'd captured a hero goblin, and wondered how Lin Tian pulled it off. Lin Tian spoke to Lujia. He told her to let the other goblins handle the artificial insemination task. She only needed to supervise. She said she would. He handed Evalea over to Lujia and said she was under her care now. Lujia agreed. Then he told the elf queen to help him prepare, because he was going to meet a friend. She asked if it was really a friend. He said yes, an extremely important friend. Judging by Lujia's arrogance, the human forces would arrive soon, and they might not be able to face them. So it was time to visit the Dragon Mother. Dragon Island was at least 100 kilometers away, and the fastest way to get to Dragon Island was to lure a dragon over. The MC left several dead oxen on the seashore. With that much blood in the air, a dragon would show up soon. He hid inside one of the carcasses, like Luke Skywalker keeping warm on Hoth. The dragon swoops in, grabs the oxen in its claws, and takes off at full speed toward Dragon Island. When it arrives, it drops the oxen into a hole. They slam into the ground. Somehow the MC doesn't turn into ground meat from the fall. He crawls out of the carcass and realizes the dragons don't hunt just for themselves. Now he just needs to find the Dragon Mother. Something speaks from behind him about something weird mixed in with the food, and it freaks him out. A purple dragon steps forward and says she recognizes him. He was the goblin boss who attacked the Tribe of Light the other day. Why was he sneaking around on her territory? Did he think she couldn't eat him? The MC tells her to wait. He wants to propose a deal. The dragon finds that interesting, a little goblin offering her a deal, and she starts transforming into her human form. The female dragon says if it's something nice, she might decide not to eat him. He tells her she wants revenge on the Sword Saint too, so he proposes an alliance as payback for him freeing her the other day. The dragon's impressed that someone so inferior would dare go up against the Sword Saint. It makes her curious. She's almost twice his size, stands next to him, and asks how he plans to defeat that woman. He says it's simple. Send her dragons to harass the Village of Light every now and then. She asks about them. What would the goblins do? What can a bunch of little goblins do to challenge that crazy woman? What's his plan? She lifts a finger under his chin and says facing the Sword Saint head-on won't work. He says they have to attack her mind. Breaking her spirit is the best way to defeat her. The Dragon Mother laughs and says she gets it. Using the goblins to wreck things without losing any of her soldiers sounds way too perfect. The protagonist asks if they have a deal. She says yes, and admits she didn't expect to meet a goblin as clever as him. The more she looks at him, the more she likes him. She licks her lips and asks if she should give him a little reward. The MC freezes, realizing female dragons are in mating season. The Dragon Mother also realizes his body is way too small for her. Since that's the case, she'll give him another reward first. She looks ahead and asks which one she should choose. Back at the Crazy Sky tribe, Loader is crucified in the middle of the tribe, with heavily armed goblins nearby. He's been there so long and the guard still hasn't come to rescue him. If he doesn't escape soon, he's going to lose it. But he has no idea how to get out. He remembers goblins aren't very tall. If he could reach a higher spot, maybe he'd have a chance. Then he sees something that terrifies him. A dragon. A flying dragon. He screams at the goblins to let him go, fast, because he doesn't want to get burned by dragon breath. The goblins panic too. One elf asks how it got there, and another says there's someone on its back. The dragon lands in front of them all. Sitting on top is none other than the protagonist. He steps down, pulls back his hood, and says he's back. The goblins stare, stunned. He tells the dragon to rest right there and not leave. The goblins erupt, shouting that Lin Tian is way too incredible, celebrating with huge joy. Loader is dumbfounded. Is he really a goblin? He prays the Order of Knights comes to save him soon. In the City of Light, several knights approach the city center. They bow before the Sword Saint, but she says time is running out, and they shouldn't worry about formalities. It's time to put together a rescue plan as fast as possible. The system warns the MC he's entering a new storyline and has 3 options. Keep killing monsters, create more goblins, or fast forward a month. He realizes the third option means the Sword Saint won't attack him during that period, so he chooses it. He'll get 20 points. The system starts speeding up time and says the corrupted forest no longer gave him any experience points. He'd gotten 20 points, and the reward was 20 times his life score. Time jumped forward by a month. The protagonist woke up and the system informed him the time skip was over. He got out of bed, still thinking how weird it felt for time to just pass like that. The system congratulated him for reaching level 50 and earning a total score of 1,000. His stats had risen a lot, but his overall strength hadn't. Lua burst into his room, yelling that all the newborn goblins didn't make it. It completely wrecked him. He ran out with the goblin woman. The elves were holding the babies who'd already passed on, crying over their bodies. The protagonist asked how it happened. He grabbed an elf and asked if anything had happened. She said she didn't know what went wrong. Only 3 newborns were left, and they were terribly weak. Louder started laughing, calling the goblins brainless idiots for thinking they could raise a powerful generation. The protagonist said it sounded like he knew why the newborns were lost. Louder said the higher a goblin's level, the harder it was for the pups to survive. He couldn't rule the world with a reproduction skill. The MC thanked Louder again for the valuable information, even if it came way too late. He turned his back and told the goblins he was all theirs, but they shouldn't finish him off too fast. The goblins thanked him for that. Louder yelled that he was cruel, that he'd become a vengeful spirit and never forgive him. The MC thought it was too late to raise a new generation of heroes, but they needed them to fight the Sword Saint. Without them, it would be tough. He started wondering how he could evolve the goblins quickly. Right then the dragon landed behind him. She walked up to the MC like a cat and started rubbing her head against him, and he wondered what was going on with her. The dragon was entering a transformation state while she was in heat. This situation was special for him, so she finished transforming. So that was the special situation. The gift the mother dragon had left for him. The female dragon started coming on to the MC, and he got nervous. She jumped on him, knocking Lin Tan to the ground. With a love-struck face, she straddled his lap and licked her lips. The system warned that he'd unlocked a new achievement, and this time his stats increased a lot. The protagonist was recovering from the growth session he got from the dragon. She was just one, but she was insanely fierce and thirsty. So this was the power of dragons. He'd already become kind of a hero. He could grow just by drinking her blood, but she wanted to do that with him. She showed up behind him again, even fiercer, saying she still wasn't done with him. He screamed in desperation, telling her she had things to do before coming back to him. She had to give her blood to the goblins, and then she could come back. She charged at the goblins ferociously. They got confused and panicked. It looked like she was about to chop them into little pieces. Night fell. The goblins gathered around a campfire. After drinking the dragon's blood, they'd evolved a lot, but they could evolve even more. The protagonist sat off to the side on the dragon's paws while she slept. He stared at his hands, amazed by the dragon's power. Not just him either. Every other goblin had evolved into the hero class too. Still, their overall power was a bit below what he expected. It was time to get some gear. He told the system to open the shop. While he looked through the items, he thought that as the leader of the hero tribe, he had to be strong to keep his authority. The system showed he had 180 points to spend, enough for advanced practical equipment. He spotted an elemental crossbow that absorbed elements and could fire elemental arrows. It was small, perfect for long-range attacks. He also saw a skill called Unarmed Defense, which let him parry 3 weapon attacks while unarmed. It cost 80 points. The skill was powerful, the kind that could save his life in a showdown with the Sword Saint. He decided to buy both. The system said the exchange was completed successfully, and both the item and the skill were in his inventory. The MC wondered out loud how these weapons would work in battle. He wanted to test them on someone right away. Then he saw Loader and called out to him. Loader wore a desperate look, already imagining what this was about. The protagonist told him he was the perfect candidate. Loader asked what he was going to do now, and just like that he became the first to experience how powerful Lin Tian of the heroic species was. Someone in the magic forest, a human witch, screamed for help while her companions scoffed that insignificant creatures didn't interest her. She'd rather be with the Sword Saint, hunting dragons. A third adventurer said the mother of dragons was way too big a problem anyway, and this job was easy. He finished by saying they shouldn't waste the chance Loader had given them to earn glory. The witch noticed something up ahead and warned the others. They readied for battle. A giant spider dropped in front of them, and the fight began, even though the little witch was terrified of spiders. The archer loosed a perfect shot straight into the monster's head and shrugged. It was just a level 3 bug. No need to make such a big deal out of it. The warrior told them to wait. Something else was coming. A giant goblin charged in. A heroic species one. They muttered that he looked like the leader. Pretty easy to find, actually. They tightened their grips, already celebrating an early win. Sure, the credit would be theirs. The warrior ordered the charge and told the others to cover him. As the monster let out a war roar, one of the knights asked the captain to wait. Leave that one to him. They'd beaten several goblins on the way, but this would be his first heroic species kill. The captain agreed and told him to finish it quickly. The knight asked him to watch. He leveled his spear. He dropped the goblin in a single strike. Storm Spear. He hurled the weapon straight at the goblin's chest, aiming for the biggest target, and shouted for it to die. Then everyone froze. The goblin caught the spear like it was nothing, and stared them down. How was that possible? The goblin drew back to throw it, and the captain shouted to activate the shield fast. The spear slammed into the center of the shield, and detonated. The blast rocked them. The shield was pierced clean through the middle. They stood stunned. It had nearly shattered from brute force alone. If it was a physical type, they needed distance. The archer set up her shot. One arrow was enough. Her aim didn't miss. That's what she thought. A hand punched straight through her stomach. She looked back, desperate, and saw another goblin laughing behind her. An assassin goblin. The archer collapsed. The swordsman yelled for them to hold formation and get the archer surrounded in the center. Now, the witch screamed for the captain to look where she was pointing. He turned. Goblins of different sizes and classes were closing in from all sides. In the forest, someone screamed for help again. Only this time, it wasn't bait to lure monsters. This time, it was them, genuinely calling for help. The goblins celebrated. The humans were theirs now. One goblin claimed the witch was his, and started to move in, but another cut him off. Loot belonged to the tribe. The chief had ordered humans captured, but one had escaped, and he didn't deserve anything. The four-armed goblin roared back. They'd already killed so many humans. They were strong enough to decide what to do with the spoils. The goblins started to rebel, shouting that they were the strongest and the tribe should follow them. One of them said Big Brother was the strongest here, so they'd follow him. He glanced at his reflection in a sword, and decided they'd take the spoils back to the tribe first. Back at the tribe, word spread that the heroes had returned. They'd captured several humans. Incredible. Their leader was named Gobu Tian. The protagonist sat quietly. An elf beside him, visibly nervous, asked if he could still control them. He didn't answer. Nothing. The four-armed goblin hoisted the human's captain. that one was his, and he was going to eat him. Lin Tian stepped up and told him to let the captain go. The human had information he wanted. The goblin looked down at him, sneering at his size, and flashed an ugly grin. If Lin Tian wanted the human, he'd have to trade him one of his women. The women flinched, shocked and scared. Lin Tian raised his arm to stop him. The MC looks up, anger burning in his eyes, and asks if he even understands what he's saying. The MC is their leader. The four-armed one turns back, points at the red-haired goblin, and calls him Gobu Kwang. He says Kwang is stronger than the MC, so they're going to follow him. The MC looks at the two goblins and asks if Gobu Kwang is the one behind the rebellion. He says if the redhead beats the four-armed one, he'll forgive him. The four-armed one bursts out laughing, saying Kwang would never obey the MC. Kwang is the new boss, and they're going to kill the MC and rule the tribe. A hand suddenly clamps down on the four-armed one's head. He freaks out. When he realizes what's happening, Gobu Kwang is the one holding him. He's about to speak, and then ketchup sprays everywhere. Both the protagonist and the elf stare, stunned. The four-armed one lies sprawled on the ground, and the other goblins recoil in fear. The redhead calls the MC leader, and says that ever since he evolved, he started to understand a lot more. He's not like those arrogant idiots. He respects the MC, but he also believes in brute strength. He calls the MC father, and says he beat the previous chief to become the new leader, so now he wants to try too. He's level 50, his stats are absurd, and his total score is 1200. The MC smiles. He gets it. The kid has the guts to challenge him with a power of 1200. Lin Tian lets out a fiery aura, and says Kwang's growth is impressive, but is he sure he wants to challenge him? The protagonist's aura looks like a Super Saiyan's. The other goblins start cheering for Gobu Kwang, yelling for him to destroy the MC and become the new boss, so they can take the women too. The protagonist closes his eyes and says it looks like plenty of goblins are willing to follow Gobu Kwang, but before they start, he wants to confirm something. He conjures a fireball, and says that if the heroic species goblins want to keep following the MC, they should come to his side right now. Otherwise, they'll be wiped out. The captain thinks the MC is a priest, and feels impressed. He figures he might be able to run in the middle of this internal conflict. There's no way he can fight them here. Once the current leader dies, he can find a way to escape. Several goblins move to the MC's side. Kwang has made his choice right in front of the MC. He wants absolute power. He draws his sword. He charges straight at the MC, but the MC steps back and dodges the strike. The captain goes pale. The redhead is even stronger than when he captured him in the forest. The MC praises Gobu Kwang's skill and raises his sword in front of him. The blade flares with a powerful flame, and he tells Gobu Kwang to take the next hit. The redhead panics. He's never seen a weapon like that, and it's insanely fast. He knows he can't dodge, so he meets it head-on and slices straight through the fireball. The protagonist notices and realizes the goblin really is tough. Gobu Kwang drives forward with his sword, roaring. He's more than twice the MC's size. The protagonist lets out a sarcastic laugh. Kwang's strike slams into the ground with so much force it explodes. The two humans are terrified. The goblins watching from the protagonist's side tense up, unsure how this ends. Gobu Kwang stares in horror. The MC stopped his sword with one hand. Lin Tian praises his strength again, but says it's not enough. He used the unarmed defense skill, then pulls out his crossbow. Gobu Kwang's eyes go wide as he stares at the crossbow's power aimed right at him. All you hear at the end is a scream. The MC asks if he wants to keep going. Kwang says no more. He drops to his knees in front of the MC, his face covered in ketchup. Lin Tian is still impressed by Gobu Kwang's courage. The other goblins start begging for their lives, swearing they'll never disobey him again. They kneel and shake in front of the MC's power. He calls them useless cowards. They beg for forgiveness and swear to follow him forever. He tells Gobu Kwang to stand, and a healing skill is used on him. Eve Leia is the one healing him, and Lin Tian says he's got guts. As long as the redhead kept serving the MC wouldn't kill him. Of course he wasn't going to forgive the other traitors, so he tells Gobu Kwang to crush them on the spot. The redhead thanks the MC for sparing his life, and says he'll deal with the traitors right now. The goblins, desperate, keep begging for forgiveness, but Gobu Kwang crushes them easily. Lin Tian yells for the other goblins to devour the traitors and get stronger, and the goblins who stayed loyal celebrate the MC's victory. The captain, stunned, asks what kind of mess Lauder got himself into. This wasn't some random monster, it was way worse. The MC walks up to Lauder's cross and apologizes that this wasn't the show they were expecting. Did Lauder really think those useless idiots were going to save him? He calls Lauder naive. Lauder grits his teeth and says it was the useless sword saint's fault, the one who only knows how to hide in the city like a coward. Then he starts laughing, yelling that everyone there was useless. What impresses me most is he still hasn't completely lost his mind from all that despair. The captain admits he underestimated the MC, but tells him not to get too excited. The sword saint would show up as soon as she defeated the mother of dragons. The protagonist crouches in front of the captain and asks if he really thought the dragons would attack the city on their own. Things were going great for him. The captain laughs and asks if that means everyone in the squad and the City of Light were being played by him. He asks for a quick death, since he'd already given all the information the MC needed. He'd rather die than end up like Loader, so he asks the MC to grant him that, while Lin Tian stares at him in silence. The MC says he'll grant his request. Someone yells, "Sword Saint, Sword Saint," and she wakes up with a start. Sitting up in bed, she asks what the rush is. The dragons had been defeated. Did the knights come back? The knight says yes, but starts stammering. She tells him to stop stammering and say it. He says only one person from the squad came back. The others were wiped out. The Sword Saint jumps up in shock, still in lingerie, and I've got to admit that was way too nice to look at. Now fully dressed in her armor, she heads to the infirmary to see the survivor. He's still in terrible shape. She asks how he got hurt and what happened to the other knights. The adventurer says they ran into a group of goblins from the heroic bloodline and begs her to go save his companions as fast as she can. Nearly passing out, he warns her to be careful because the goblins are abnormal. Then he finally stops talking. The healer yells for him to hang in there, and someone says it can't be just a bunch of goblins. A knight snaps that he doesn't care about bloodlines. They'll be exterminated like the lowly worms they are. The Sword Saint tells him to wait. Dragon invasions have been getting more frequent. They could attack at any moment, and she can't hold all of that back alone. She orders part of the troops to be sent out, and reinforcements requested to protect the City of Light. When the time was right, she herself would wipe out the goblins and the Dragon Mother. The knight tries to protest, and the mage asks if they have any chance of coming back alive. Someone steps in, cutting through the argument, and says she doesn't need to send reinforcements. Arrogance leads to defeat, and that's why the Order of the Silver Blade fell. It's Kasimov, captain of the Order of the Death Knights. He tells her to leave the rescue and the hunt for the goblins to him. The Sword Saint says a whole squad was defeated. Does he really think he can do it alone? He says he once faced 4 Titan warriors alone and survived, and even if those goblins are from the heroic bloodline, there's no way they can hurt him. Then he takes off his mask, revealing a face half burned through with a huge scar, and says they just need to wait for the good news. Back at the village, the MC asks the system to start the life simulation again. The system tells him about the Sword Saint's orders for Kasimov to attack the village, and that it would be a huge loss for the MC even if he won. The MC wonders if Kasimov is really that strong enough to cause massive destruction to the village. The system gets 3 mission options: change the village, prepare for the attack, or capture Kasimov first. He picks the last one and receives the mission to fight Kasimov. The reward is 20 points, but before moving, the MC needs to know who Kasimov is. In the middle of the village, a loud laugh rings out. Louder is celebrating Kasimov's arrival, saying the goblins won't stand a chance. Their time has come. The guy already defeated several Titan warriors. The MC glances back and says Louder seems to trust that man a lot. The MC asks what Titan warriors are. Louder says they're powerful fighters, created with Titan genes by the enemy kingdom, capable of ripping monsters apart with their bare hands. Everyone's doomed, Louder insists, laughing as he mocks them. The MC says Kasimov has a few tricks up his sleeve, but Louder keeps yelling they'll be torn apart and skinned alive. Lin Tian thinks it's better to be careful. Maybe he should send someone first to test Kasimov's abilities. In the forest, Kasimov rides on horseback, following the trail left by the adventurers and goblins. The woods are empty, which feels wrong. He finds the remains of the Silver Squad and calls them useless idiots. The smell of blood is strong, intoxicating, and it excites him. Maybe this time he'll get to have fun destroying everything, however he wants. He hears cries for help behind him and turns, trying to place where it's coming from. He spurs his horse toward the sound. When he arrives, a blonde woman is kneeling on the ground, naked and trembling. He asks who she is, but she doesn't answer right away. She turns her back, and Kasimov recognizes her face. She calls his name. It's Evleia, begging him to save her. He shouts, stunned, that she's still alive. Riding closer, he asks if Loder is still alive. Crying, she says she escaped the goblins, but Loder isn't with them anymore. Kasimov tells her to point out where the goblin tribe is. She says it isn't far, but they're really scary, and Kasimov grows suspicious. He rides toward the tribe. Evleia screams for him to get her out of there, but he's already far away, yelling for her to figure it out on her own. He still has a mission. Kasimov's class gives him an attribute bonus whenever he works alone, and another when he takes down enemies. With Loder dead, Kasimov thinks that's perfect. No one to get in his way. He just needs to ambush them and stack the bonuses. Galloping forward, he rides over a rope and triggers a trap. He's thrown as his horse crashes to the ground. Kasimov flips and lands without injury. He looks back at the attack, and the one coming after him is Evleia. He demands to know why she still hasn't left. Evleia raises her staff and casts Holy Light Critical Strike, hitting Kasimov dead on. He yells, asking what she thinks she's doing. She says the master ordered her to defeat him. She casts again Sacred Impact, and hits him squarely once more. Purple smoke spreads in front of Evleia. Kasimov casts Soul Devourer. He grabs her by the hair and asks what kind of spell she's under to dare attack him, but she doesn't answer. He licks her shoulder and says, in that case he won't go easy on her. He doesn't like killing only monsters. He's interested in peeling her skin off. He points his sword at Evleia's neck and says this is a good chance to rack up bonuses. A voice says they get why he dared to go alone and try to wipe them out. The MC stands behind Kasimov, sword in hand, saying Kasimov's class stats and gear are pretty messed up. His sword has a power called Mortal Harvest, boosting crit damage by 90%. If Kasimov lands a sneak attack, that's bad for the MC. Kasimov is shocked. How did a low-level goblin steal his sword in an instant? Evleia runs to the MC, calling him master. Kasimov yells that she's lowered herself to being a slave to disgusting goblins. The MC pats her head and says she's been a great servant. He tells Kasimov he's disappointed. He thought Kasimov would be formidable, but he's just a psycho who likes killing. Kasimov says that even though he doesn't, if he knew how he'd found out about their stats, he'd easily deal with a disgusting goblin like him. Even without the sword or passive skills, he was fully capable of sending the protagonist to hell. Kasimov pulls a dagger and rushes the protagonist, who doesn't even bother to dodge. The next instant, two goblins appear behind the protagonist and Avalia, both heavily armed. The protagonist smiles and says that today, they'll see who goes to hell first. The dragon shows up too and breathes fire down on Kasimov. He's completely incinerated in a single hit. The guy speed ran going to hell and broke every record. Meanwhile, back at the Tianquang tribe, one of the creatures yells that the chief is back, and another says he even brought his prey. He throws something down in front of that man, tied up and ragged. He asks if that's the one known as the all-powerful Reaper, says it's a shame, and that after all that overconfidence, it only leads to death. The man says the other one is dead. Shouting about the sword, he calls her a miserable witch, and says it was a bad strategy to send men to defend the city. The leader thinks he can focus on evolving rare-type goblins now, and that this body will provide useful nutrients. He tells Gobshan this prey is the first one for him, and orders him to share the leftovers with the others. The goblins crowd in, excited, thanking their chief. He thinks that goblin was chosen because he has a better chance of evolving into a rare. The creature starts feeding on the remains, while the chief thinks he's hypocritical and sadistic, and those are perfect qualities for it. Picking up a fruit, he thinks that for the holy sword, he checked the system beforehand, and that she only commands 3 squads of knights, and the silver blade has already fallen. He knows that when word of Kasimov's defeat spreads, it'll crush the holy sword's morale, and she'll have to make a move to fix that. He decides now is the best time to use the simulation system to probe the future, so he orders the emulation system to begin. Excited, he laughs, thinking the holy sword really is an ambitious saint, but in this game he's the one who win in the end. Then he leaves and tells one of his underlings to gather all the goblins, saying that tomorrow he'll lead them to pull off something big. The goblins obey. Determined, the goblin leader thinks it's time to wipe them all out. Somewhere else, someone asks how the person was discovered. A gentleman says he's reporting to his lord, and that he was found outside the city. A woman says it was only one day, while another knight asks how those simple bastards could have killed Asimov. The woman says they've failed several times to wipe out the goblins, and the existence of that dragon can't be a coincidence. She concludes there must be some scheme between the dragons and the goblins, using the city's citizens and trapping them there in an ambush, and says they need to do something. She shouts, signaling for the Battle Roar squad and all members to head to the capital to reinforce it. Sometime later, several are riding toward their destination. One of the men says that even if they keep rushing to the capital like this, it'll take 4 days. He asks what will happen to the city's defense if everyone leaves, and asks to let him go alone to reinforce the capital, so they can protect the saint and the city. The other woman says he doesn't understand, and that this is her plan, because if they run into a goblin ambush, at least one of them can escape and warn them. She adds that if the saint's forces defeat the goblins, the dragon outside the city won't be a problem, and that the real problem is them attacking this city with no defenses. While the knights say that's the plan, she says her job is to protect the knights' operation and send reinforcements to the city, and that they need to be quick. The man finally seems to understand. Suddenly, the knight stops his horse, startled. One of the men says the bridge was destroyed and asks what they're going to do. The girl says it was broken on purpose, so they need to take a detour, but the captain says they can't, because that could be a plan to force a detour and set up an ambush. Since the bridge was destroyed, the spot is safe. He orders them to cut down trees and rebuild the bridge so they can get across before nightfall. Time passes in the forest. Finally, the bridge is ready again. He says time is short and they need to hurry to cross it. The girl says it's weird that it suddenly got dark. The knight looks up and freezes. This is not good. A huge dragon rises over the bridge. Someone shouts to look at its back that there's a goblin riding it. Another man panics, yelling that the goblins and the dragons are allied. The goblin leader laughs, says they really work fast, and that they rebuilt the bridge instead of taking a detour. Did they really think they weren't going to get ambushed? The knight snaps back, asking if he's the one who destroyed it, swearing he'll kill him himself. The dragon breathes fire over everyone. Flames slam into the bridge as the knights scream for everyone to run. Fire spreads fast. The terrified girl talks to the captain about the bridge and curses those goblins. The knight vows he'll capture the leader and torture him to death. The goblin leader tilts his head. Is that all? He says he wants to see if they can beat his goblins and the mother of dragons that's coming. Someone yells they're surrounded by goblins. Someone else asks if maybe the wyverns could be coming. The woman tells the commander that if they show up, they won't stand a chance. The captain says if they can hold out, he can solve the problem in the city. The captain yells to Bane that he'll hold them off, telling him to use his sprint to get across and warn them. The warrior says he understands his commander. He charges the creatures shouting damn monsters, saying they even gathered there on purpose. The other guy runs through the monsters. He says the sooner the saint arrives, they'll wipe them all out. But the woman tells the commander something strange. She says they intentionally let that warrior escape, and she thinks the goblins did it on purpose. It can only be their plan. The leader confirms it, says they're right. There's no mother of dragons. It was a trick to lure that foolish woman to the city. He wonders what's going to happen to that city. The commander flies into a rage and charges, yelling at them. He orders them to take down whoever's riding the dragon. Says the city is already lost, but they have to hold out until the saint arrives. The two groups clash again. The captain fights a huge orc. He curses the situation, saying the creature is stronger than him, and there's something about its sword. Then it hits him. The orc is using Kasimov's sword. The goblin leader taunts him, saying he's not that tough. says time is a little short as he pulls out a weapon. Then he jumps off the creature, dropping toward the ground. He says he'll finish off those knights before the saint arrives. The next moment, the goblins watch several knights on the ground, hit by an attack. The knight thinks he can't take it, cursing the situation. He realizes he underestimated those goblins. Then he gets hit in the head. The goblin leader says their time is running out, tells them to devour everyone quickly before the saint arrives. The creature says yes and thanks its boss. Sometime later, the saint arrives with her army. She tenses, thinking they got there too late. They find only the knight's remains. That warrior curses and says he'll get revenge for them. She says not even the bodies were left. Asks if that means the dragons teamed up with the goblins again. He says he saw a goblin who could control the dragons, and that he must have been the leader. The woman is surprised and asks him about it. He explains the goblin ordered the dragon to breathe fire and destroy the bridge, and that the commander and everyone else must have been killed by the goblins and the dragon. She says there are only a few dragon fire marks, and they look more like what's left of the goblins, adding that there aren't many dragons coming. Then she notices something and goes pale. She starts retreating, saying it was a bait strategy. She orders them to return quickly, because something is going to happen to the city. That warrior gets scared and says this can't be real. In the city, it's total destruction. The saint stands in the middle of it, staring at the tragedy. She drops to her knees and asks herself how this could have happened, saying this can't be true. She watches a child crying for his father. As he hugs him, the woman tells him not to do that, but the child tells her to go. She turns away and says they only pretend to protect them. When the goblins came, they were nowhere to be seen. She calls her a bad person. They ask who would even want her apologies if she can't protect them. What kind of saint she is. They say they need her, but she can't protect them. The girl doesn't know what to say. She just takes it, shaken. Everywhere she goes, people whisper that she's useless, that she can't protect them. A woman says he did it. Even without meeting her, he completely defeated the saint by crushing her spirit. She thinks she's eager to meet this guy, and time passes. Night falls on the goblins' tribe. The tribe leader walks among them, as the goblins murmur that he's back. He asks Gobdi how he handled the tasks from today, and whether there were any complications. Gobdi says the raid on the city was a success. He reports that some even surrendered willingly to save their lives, and they were captured. And as ordered, he sent a cart of gold to Kayuria and escorted her and her family out of the city. The leader praises him and says that from now on, he and Gobshana should prioritize devouring magical creatures. He thinks Kairia was the only one who believed in him in his previous life, and he believes the sacred sword is completely defeated now. Somewhere else, dragons fly above a forest. He thanks the mother of dragons for her help. She says she heard the saint collapsed in her bed and can't get up anymore, and that it's satisfying, but he needs to ask if she'll keep sending dragons. She asks what he'll give her as a reward. Flying back and forth every day is exhausting. The goblin leader tells her to look at something, but the woman suddenly kisses him. She says what she wants as a reward is him, and asks what he thinks about that. He asks if she's messing with him. She says she doesn't care if the mother of dragons ends up with a big belly, but she warns him not to get it wrong. If he refuses, she'll be pretty upset. He says not to take it the wrong way, but asks how a simple goblin could be worthy of the mother of dragons. She looks thrilled. She says he's not an ordinary goblin, and she sees the potential of a goblin king in him. Then she explains their ancestral dragon race has always revered strength. It's her nature. She wants to meet powerful beings and produce strong descendants. Smiling, he says, then there's nothing to do, he has to accept. The dragons around them watch. He gets an achievement, a bonus to all his stats, and he gets excited about all the stat points. He decides it's better to sneak out before the mother of dragons wakes up. He slowly backs away, thinking she's insanely formidable, and if he's forced to do that again, it could be a problem. From inside the cave, someone watches. She thinks he's just like she imagined, and that maybe one day he can lead the goblins and create a new world. Back at the goblins' village, someone screams, asking what it is. The woman asks if he's trying to push them away. He says he has the human women trapped for work now, so he can let them go. He knows elves are more useful than humans, so he wants to win their loyalty. One of them tells Kasana and everyone else that if they want to leave, they can go. The woman answers saying, "Dear mother." Our hero looks surprised by what he's seeing. She kneels and says that from what she's seen so far, he's not a normal goblin. She says she wants to stay with the tribe and follow him. He says she's smart, adding that she'll be valuable if she stays and promises not to bother the other elves. He thinks she sees him as a trump card for the elves. One of the elf girls screams for her mother, tears in her eyes, asking how she can decide to stay. The elf girl starts saying that from now on they'll only follow their mother and the leader. Another says she's not leaving either, she's staying. The guy smiles, thinking it's what he expected. He says that since they chose to stay, they're not captives anymore, but his subordinates. He'll guarantee everyone's safety, and they thank him. He thinks that with the Holy Sword defeated and no outside threats, this is the best time to develop the sacred era, and the time to create heroic races. One servant complains the humans are way too small for him. The elf tells the leader they can help create others, and our hero says it seems like the only way. A goblin calls for his leader, saying it looks like one of them died and he should hurry. Our hero jolts, questioning that, and heads over. He asks what happened, but they say they have no idea. The guy was just hiding there, scratching himself up, looking like a madman. Then something weird starts happening. His body begins to change. The creature rises, laughing, and one of the goblins asks if he's coming back to life. That goblin turns into a level 50 creature, a mutant abomination with several powers. Our hero realizes that if it weren't for the stats he got from the dragon mother, he wouldn't survive. The creature says it didn't die, it just got stronger. Our hero says its strength and wisdom grew a lot, so he'll focus on this generation. 3 months pass. Back in the city of Bright, under a tavern sign, a man asks what they think. It's been a long time, and he wants to know if the holy sword will recover. Another says he doubts it. A knight says it's just a bunch of goblins, and the Bloodstorm heroes could handle it properly. Everyone turns to see who's talking. It's the diamond rank captain of the heroes, known as His Highness Sir Earl. After 3 months of constant breeding, they've built up 150 third-generation goblins. Meanwhile, the royal family issues 3 bounty notices for 100 gold coins. Adventurer groups of various ranks gather in the city with one goal: wipe out the goblin tribe. The terminal says that this time he'll face diamond and epic level opponents, so it tells him to prepare properly. He thinks diamond rank heroes are already among humanity's elite, and epics surpass even the holy sword itself. He wonders if there won't be any warning or guide this time, and if the decision will be completely up to him. The elf suddenly tells her leader there's a report. He asks what's wrong. She says the new goblins are almost mature, but the forest resources are running out and everyone's getting hungry. Our hero agrees the resources aren't enough. On top of that, the city's situation is turning abnormal. They need to relocate somewhere more suitable. He stands and orders everyone to move. The elf says she'll handle the preparations. Sometime later, at a lake near a mountain, someone says the cave behind the waterfall leads into a deep tunnel complex, perfect for a home. He leads the group inside. He calls over 2 subordinate goblins and orders them to secure the place, make it safe, and watch the captives and the children. Everyone gets to work. They set up torches to light the tunnels. She declares this will be their new home. They're to follow him, and he'll make sure they have a good life. But anyone who breaks the rules dies. He thinks the tribe is established. Now he needs to investigate what's happening in the city. If the system is right, the adventurers will move ahead with their plan. Meanwhile, in the city, someone sets down a mug of beer. The attendant asks if His Highness shouldn't be hunting only high-level monsters, and if he's really planning to deal with the goblins again. Earl says he has to handle it this time to save his useless cousin Loader. The innkeeper looks like he understands. Then someone yells, calling for Caesar. He says Caesar takes care of everything and keeps the reward, so what's his goal in going there? The room murmurs confused. Caesar says he's taking the reward to wipe out the goblins, and they'd better pay him about 1,000 gold coins. Someone asks why the mage is there. Another says he's the leader of the diamond rank heroes, Grey Hat. Someone mutters that the old man is pretty fired up, and asks how he dares. Then someone laughs out loud. He asks if they think they can act just because the holy sword went crazy, and tells them not to forget the adventurer Lucilina is there too. People go pale, whispering about why someone that dangerous would show up, and that they heard she even kills good people for money. Earl asks if he's a wandering hero who's also there because of the goblins, but the man says he's not interested in goblins. He only came to kill dragons. If he can take one down, maybe he can become an epic rank adventurer. Then he adds that he should warn him not to underestimate goblins. They're low level, but their ability to evolve is scary, especially mutant species. The old mage says he's got a point. He's lived about 100 years, and has seen more goblins than women. This low-level species has been around since ancient times, the enemy of all races, and even after all these years they still haven't disappeared. He takes his beer and says wiping out goblins is a pain, and if it weren't for the reward he wouldn't bother. Earl says that's true. Even the saint and the knights struggled and took losses, so they need to move carefully. He asks the old man why they don't put together a group to deal with the goblins, and when it's complete, the whole reward can be his. The old man laughs and says they have a deal. Since His Majesty is so generous, he'll form a group with him, though the old man seems kind of sly. Some time passes there. They talk strategy for the mission, all focused on violence. He says charging straight into danger can lead to all kinds of unknowns, and they should make a plan. Someone says he's being too cautious, that it's a problem, and adds he might not get involved personally. The young man looks at him, confused. A man in fine armor walks up, and Earl thinks he's weird. The old man says he didn't expect the Goblin Slayer to be here, and asks if he can talk. The young man tenses up. Goblin Slayer. He apologizes, saying he didn't recognize him. Goblin Slayer says he doesn't want to be recognized, and asks what he needs. His Highness thinks he's a really strange person, and even his voice sounds disguised. The old man says this man once killed a goblin chief, which means he's killed thousands of goblins in battle. Earl is shocked. Then he asks if he'll join them to wipe out the goblins together, but the man says he doesn't need a group, they just get in his way. The mage asks what there is to be proud of and tells him not to come crying for help when he gets captured by goblins. He says they should stop wasting time, attack first, and not let that guy steal their glory. Then he asks if they shouldn't prepare first. Sometime later, the goblin hunter leaves the city. Our hero watches from the top of a hill. He activates Sharp Eyes and sizes him up, realizing he's a level 65 human goblin slayer with a bunch of related skills. He freaks out a little when the guy's power jumps from 1,000 to 3,000, wondering if the system is glitching. But the system says there's no problem on their end, and apologizes. Sometime later, a group on horseback rides out through the city gate. Our hero gets curious. He sees Geyser, a holy knight with power around 1,300. Next to him is Gru, an archmage with power around 1,400, a tough guy to deal with. He figures those two diamond-level guys shouldn't be that hard to handle. He thinks he definitely needs to keep an eye on this goblin slayer. Sometime later, in the ruins of the Sky Fury tribe, that group of adventurers moves through the area. The old man says it's weird. A goblin tribe that big should have been discovered a long time ago. They should have found plenty of signs. The group leader calls to the old man and asks him to check something. Then he puts a lock of blonde hair in his hand. The old man brings it to his face and smells it. He says if he's not mistaken, it's elf hair. The young guy asks how elf women could be helping goblins, and says it can't be. The old man says they searched the whole forest. They can't be hiding there. More likely they relocated and covered their tracks. He explains those butterflies are specially made to sense elves. Maybe that way they can track the elves and the goblins. The butterfly starts flying around. He says the flower butterfly lost the trail, asking if they must have crossed the river. He says maybe they should wait for the goblin slayer to show himself, then make the first move. But the old man says that's unnecessary. He tells him to look over there, across the river, near the edge. Ahead a goblin appears. The boy orders his men to grab it. Nearby our hero watches. Everything's going to plan. The prey took the bait. Then something pulls his focus. That goblin hunter is at the lake's edge. He'd planned to deal with those two first, but he didn't expect this one to show up like this, wearing that curious smile. Then he freezes. The adventurer takes off all her armor and steps into the water, revealing she's an elf. He's stunned, wondering if the goblin slayer is actually a woman. She doesn't look completely human, and her skills are exceptional. Who has the leisure to take a bath in a situation like this? That isn't normal. For the first time he feels something unnatural. Did she notice him? Is she trying to lure him out? He jumps onto the dragon and takes off, flying on its back. This woman's crafty. He'll deal with the other two first. The goblin huntress looks up, wondering what kind of intelligent species that is. She seems excited, thinking she'd love to savor this experience. Sometime later, the weak goblin lies defeated on the ground. The young guy says it's stopped, and tells everyone to stay alert. The tribe is close. Suddenly flaming arrows rain toward the group. The old mage orders everyone to fall back as he casts. He hurls fire into the incoming volley. It's a trap. The young guy says they almost got caught. The old man still has his skills, but it's not over yet. Stop talking. The mage shouts. They're there. A huge mutant goblin comes charging in. Gru yells that it's a hero-class goblin, and tells everyone to focus their attacks on it. The mage fires a fireball. The goblin doesn't expect it. It looks like a direct hit, but aside from its clothes, it's fine. The old mage can't believe it. As the monster keeps closing in, he wonders how it's still alive after that. Then the leader tells them to look around. The goblins are closing in, and they're all elite. Why do they have iron armor and weapons? He can't let it get close. Leave that to Cecil. He casts Fountain of Life, restoring everyone's power. Another adventurer uses a mid-tier spell, Ice Spike. Another casts Quicksand Field. A third unleashes Rain of Judgment, striking the goblins as they try to defend themselves. And it looks like someone up above is watching. The leader tells that creature to make an opening so Gobokong can get close. Then the goblin launches himself from above, slamming into the ground. With determination, he charges the adventurers. The old mage is stunned by the monster's speed and curses those damn goblins. On the other side, the huge mutant goblin advances with a few more. The leader yells for them not to be afraid and orders the squires to hold the line. But the goblins overpower the knights with ease, so he calls on the Holy Lord, asking his power to punish those vile creatures. He uses an advanced magic power, Holy Light Enhancement. He tells everyone to gather around him in formation, to surround the wounded and heal them quickly. Furious, he says they're going to kill them all. Our hero admits the skills of that diamond-level adventurer group are beyond what he expected. Another goblin tribe wouldn't stand a chance, but unfortunately for them, they went to the wrong place. More creatures appear, and that mutant goblin shows up too. The old mage panics, cursing the situation. It's a mutant goblin. Nearby, the goblin slayer woman says the creatures are fascinating and powerful. Then a scream cuts through the battle. Groob is badly hurt. The mutant lifts him off the ground like it's nothing. The goblins move like they're in some kind of combat trance. The young leader is down too, defeated. He can't believe what he's seeing. The old man begs him to help, to save him. But the young leader doesn't look like he can fight. He's genuinely terrified. He scrambles up and tries to run, screaming that these goblins are demons. The mutant moves toward the fallen old mage. The young leader runs in desperation, dodging arrows and cursing everything. He thinks he should have known there would be hidden elf archers too, then asks who saved him. He looks up at that person, terrified. He sees the goblin slayer in front of him and begs to be saved, just as several goblins leap onto him. A new fight breaks out, and Earl watches, tense and shaking. All around him, the goblins are already defeated. Overjoyed, he thanks the goblin slayer again and promises he'll reward him. But the huntress questions the idea of rewarding her, and tells him to stay away from her, the farther the better, and calls him a ridiculous kid. Earl tries to warn them this isn't a normal goblin tribe, that there's definitely a goblin overlord here, but the slayer says he'll feel more satisfied this way. Sometime later, on that battlefield, the mutant goblin holds the old mage's head, then a weapon slams into it dead on. The goblin actually feels the hit and drops, unconscious. Our hero watches from above and mutters, "Goblin frenzy. What's going on?" A crowd of goblins turns as someone approaches. The goblin slayer walks up and asks if that thing is the goblin leader, because with that stupid face it doesn't look like it. The mutant creature shrieks that it's gonna kill him, then lunges in, ready to fight. The goblin slayer readies himself too. In the next moment, goblins start flying in every direction. Our hero stares, confused, asking what's up with the system. He was told there would only be normal strikes, but this looks like magic. The mutant goblin steps in and activates a skill called Mad War Transformation. In a frenzy, it charges the goblin hunter. The adventurer jokes, asking if it's an enraged bull, then laughs as he swings and chops the creature into several pieces. He grips his huge weapon with both hands and rushes nimbly at the mutant goblin, saying as he attacks that it's already dead, but something hits him out of nowhere. The hunter curses as his body locks up. He wonders if they should fall back while they can, but thinks that person is full of mysteries and could be a great tool, though a direct fight wouldn't be smart. He orders everyone to retreat and form a circle, tells them to keep their distance and attack from far away with whatever they've got. The goblin huntress is stunned that a goblin can tame a dragon, and says she knew this place wouldn't let her down. Several rocks come rolling toward that adventurer, bouncing down the slope toward her. Without hesitation, she swings her weapon, slicing the huge rocks apart. Then she drives her sword into the ground and leans on it, catching her breath. Our hero thinks they've been fighting for an hour, and she looks like she's about to collapse. Then the huntress grabs her helmet and throws the heavy thing to the ground, revealing a beautiful woman. The goblins start acting like idiots, completely enchanted. Our hero just stares, not quite believing it. Suddenly she smashes what's left of that old mage, and says the heart is the best kind of nourishment. Our hero is horrified, realizing he underestimated her. The goblin huntress keeps striking them down one after another, and then her attention snaps to something specific. The mutant creature calls her a filthy woman, and tells her to die. The next moment, it gets hit by a sword crackling with energy. The goblin huntress uses her ability on the monster, and in the next instant, it explodes. Our hero tenses. Who is she? If she even has a goblin devouring ability, the best option is to retreat. He yells for the elf to come with him and orders everyone to fall back immediately. The goblin huntress tells him to wait. She says she hasn't seen a goblin this smart and powerful in ages. If he lets her take a closer look, she won't just spare their lives, she'll also heal the one who got hit by the dagger. Our hero asks if she really thinks he'd believe that nonsense. The girl looks surprised and asks if he doesn't believe her. Then she starts undoing the straps on her armor. In the next moment, the pieces drop to the ground. With her armor off, she asks if he believes her now. He's shocked she dropped her weapon and stripped off her armor, and he wonders what she's planning. He starts heading down, thinking, so in that case, he tells her they should have a proper talk. She says that even though he's just a low-tier goblin, he's far beyond her expectations. Then he says he showed himself like she asked, and asks if she isn't going to heal him. Taking some kind of needle tells him not to worry, she'll keep her promise. But first he has to satisfy her. She says he looks like a low-tier goblin, but he's got the brains of a goblin king. Totally her type. She gets a little too excited, and our hero asks if she's kidding. He thinks he dropped his guard and walked right into the trap of a crazy woman. Then suddenly everyone around them turns their backs. Our hero doesn't get it and asks what's going on. The woman strolls up with a smile and says they're all under her control. They won't be able to see anything they do. Then she laughs. She jumps on him and hugs him, telling him to relax, that she won't kill him. She even says she'll stay with him, like she's already deciding what to do next. The next moment, she throws the goblin to the ground. She wonders what kind of creature he's going to become. Before he can even react, she attacks, and he's still stuck wondering if this is even real. Nearby, by a bush, Earl watches. He can't believe what he's seeing. Then it hits him, and he's horrified. The goblin slayer is a woman, and she's with the goblin. Out of nowhere, something starts creeping toward him. Earl freezes, terrified. Our hero warns her that this is a goblin den, and if she keeps going, she'll face the consequences. The woman just says she wants to see how strong he is. He asks who she is, and what this weird power is. How can she control her subordinates, and even him? The goblin huntress asks if she tells him everything, he'll let her follow him. He says it depends on what she says. She tells him she's descended from a goblin king. Our hero is stunned. He asks how she can be descended from a goblin king, and why she looks human. She says maybe it's because her mother is human, and it's not like there was only one goblin king. She explains that the higher a goblin's rank, the harder it is for him to have offspring. But she survived, stayed healthy. Then after a decade, she personally killed the goblin king, who tried to force himself on her. After she devoured him completely, she gained the king's power to control goblins. And with that power, she wiped out everyone in that dungeon. Our hero asks if she can control them because of a king's life energy. She says she put part of it into the weapon she forged. So when he gets hit, it's like a suicide gene gets implanted. He can't disobey her. She says she became a goblin slayer because she hates them. And what she did to him before killing him was personal. Our hero thinks it's no surprise her personality got twisted like that. He can almost feel her pain, and it's a natural weapon against goblins. He says it looks like they have something in common, and asks her to join him. The woman says she thought he'd be scared, and that there was no need for tricks. Our hero's a little surprised. She says the situation in the city is complicated. She can go back and be his spy, which is better than staying there. Our hero asks if she's really that kind of person. She says that since he's hers now, she has to protect him first. Our hero tenses at that. Sometime later, inside the cave, he checks the info on the terminal. Looking at his points, he realizes he expected a woman with a king's life energy to be worth more. Then someone asks if it's his cousin, and says he's still alive, catching our hero off guard. Nearby, people mutter that his cousin is the family disgrace. No wonder the holy sword didn't come save him. But the man snaps back that he's a useless idiot. The guy tells him to look at that thing over there and says he'll die before he does. Then one of the goblins grabs the young man. Terrified, he asks what it's doing. It hauls him toward the cauldron while he begs not to be killed, saying he's a noble and can give them lots of women. His cousin tells it to stop. He says he wants to see their leader. Our hero steps in and calls him a mutt, saying he stayed quiet all this time. So why open his mouth now? The man says that if he frees his cousin, he'll accept any request. Earl tells his cousin he was wrong before and that he shouldn't have talked to him like that, calling him a mutt. Lin questions how he can be a prisoner and still try to bargain. The man suggests hurting his cousin and letting him go. Then they'll send more people to rescue him and they can devour them all. Earl is horrified by what he's hearing. In a trance, the guy says everyone deserves to die, says he's going to kill everyone. Our hero's surprised because he looks serious and he accepts the proposal. The man seems out of it. The elf warns that if they let him go, their position will be exposed. But our hero says it's fine and asks if she doesn't trust him. A good while passes. Back in the city, someone yells that it's already over, that they're finished. The innkeeper asks what happened, and the man tells him not to worry so much. He says he saw Xizor missing a leg riding a carnivorous horse toward the royal city. People get worked up asking how that's possible, saying he and the group failed. Then the man asks if the Grey Hats and the Blizzard Braves were all defeated, if Xizor was the only one left. At that moment, the goblin hunter walks in and confirms it. She says everyone was killed and only Xizor stayed alive. She drops into a nearby chair. An adventurer asks the goblin slayer if she took part in the battle, and she says she did. The hooded man asks about the goblins. She says there were hundreds of huge goblins, and mutants too, but she took care of all of them. The tavern goes quiet. Then someone mutters that it's what you'd expect from the goblin slayer. The innkeeper says she can drink on the house while everyone stares, still processing what they just heard. Suddenly something flies into the room. Through the door, several bats swoop in. They hang from the ceiling as the crowd watches. The goblin hunter asks if they're the cold mercenaries, and says that was a great entrance. Someone calls for the goblin slayer and asks if she found their nest, since she said there were hundreds of goblins, and adds that those bastards hide underground, so how could she know? The hunter says she didn't find the lair. She came back after killing them, then asks if he can handle those goblins. One bat asks if that's it, then says not to worry, finding the lair will be their job. He asks if she'll join forces with them. The goblin hunter stands. She says she doesn't like working at night and she's not very useful compared to the others. The bat calls it a disgrace and says it looks like that hunt will be theirs. During the night, those creatures fly through the forest, searching for the goblin's den. One asks what the captain is thinking because it doesn't look like there's any powerful force around. The captain says the trail ends there, and they have to go in. They agree and fly inside. The goblins on guard say it's nothing serious, but they should stay alert. The bats move forward through the cave. One asks if that was really it, just a handful of goblins and a mutant, then wonders if they went to the wrong place and found some average tribe, but the captain says there's no mistake. It's just like the hunter said, big goblins, perfect to drain them before they wake up. He gives the order to charge and drain them all. He moves in, fangs bared. The next moment, a blast of energy slams into him. He hits the ground, defeated. A woman steps into view. The bat asks how this can be. It's a goblin den. He can't believe what he's seeing. Torches flare to life around the cavern. Goblins start pouring in, surrounding them. He curses under his breath and realizes they can't leave because everything's on fire. One of the bats asks the captain what they should do now. Our hero appears and asks if they really dared come there to drain them. Now he wants to see what they're capable of. The bat's captain looks at the goblin's leader, then he makes a motion, and something happens. They start spinning like a tornado. In the next moment, a woman's feet touch down. She says that since they've been exposed, they need to kill everyone, since they're just a bunch of goblins. On the terminal, it shows she's Lilith, a level 61 vampire with 2800 power. Our hero gets excited. Her stats are insanely high. He's satisfied he got their attack info ahead of time and prepared. The vampire takes flight and starts attacking the goblins, asking whether the flames will reach them first or if they'll die before that. Lin lights up. Like this, golden energy coils around all of them. The vampires flinch and shield their eyes from the light, annoyed. How can a humble goblin use holy magic? The holy energy surges. In the next moment, a vampire hits the ground. He steps forward. None of us gained anything from this fight, so why don't we talk? The vampire doesn't look happy. She assumes he's here for the reward. He tilts his head, curious, and asks why vampires would need money. She looks embarrassed, then snaps back. Does he think it's easy dealing with the church? If it weren't for the agreement not to drain humans, they wouldn't need money to buy food. Lin starts thinking. If he could get them on his side, he could improve his clan's bloodline. Our hero says he gets it, and asks what she thinks about cooperating. He says he can provide them with food. Something stirs among the goblins, but she cuts in. What they have isn't even close to enough for long-term supplies. Then she says she has documents about something, an essential source of life, that can replace the way some thirsty monsters feed. The vampires exchange surprised looks and start whispering. Our hero waits, clears his throat, and tells them the legend. Long ago, a monster called a succubus discovered that taking this vital liquid from men has a special effect. That's what they live for. You don't need to kill for it, just extract it anywhere, and you can get nourishment and stock up. He adds that the goblins are short on everything except that. If they make a deal, he'll make sure the vampires never run out of anything they need. One vampire says she's heard of those creatures. Another asks if they're being tricked. Their leader says they'll only know if it's true if they try. Suddenly, one of them grabs her captain. She protests. They're countesses, and the count is currently sealed. Aren't they going too far? Shouldn't they wait for him? The woman fires back. For hundreds of years, how many more sisters have to die because of that? If his method is real, they can get it with no more risks. Then the girl starts working on it. The others shift, awkward, and then something happens. She freezes, then says it really can replace what they're used to eating. Excitement ripples through them. They all want to try. A shoving match breaks out, so our hero asks Leah to help. The elf tells her boss he really worked hard. He says the vampires were seriously hungry. Then the captain calls for the goblin. She says she agrees to cooperate and asks what he wants from them. Lynn explains it's always dark there, perfect for them to live, and they need to protect the caves from intruders. The woman nods like she understands. Fine, she accepts. Our hero looks satisfied with the result. Sometime later, at night in the city, since that group of cold mercenaries still hasn't made contact, they assume they were wiped out. Someone yells he's sick of that useless trash. A man shoots back that he's the trash scared to fight goblins, so how can he call himself a diamond rank adventurer? The other man snarls that he doesn't want a lecture from him. The standoff drags on in the tavern. Then the Holy Sword walks in. One man goes pale at the sight of her. The other grins, happy she's back. They lay out the plan. She'll go alone to the land of dragons, while they gather to defeat the goblins, so both can be taken down. A guy asks if they can really do that now that only regular people like them are left. Someone else says it's just a bit of effort, and tells them to count on him. That guy says he'll help the Holy Sword keep the path of protection, and he'll organize everyone to go into the forest and kill the goblins. She nods and says she'll leave the mission to him. His name is Ellison, a diamond rank marksman. To reach the land of dragons they have to go by boat. She asks him, since she heard he has object manipulation magic, if he can escort her. He bows. Fighting alongside the Holy Sword is the greatest honor of his life. But what he really wants is that by the end of this mission, he can get promoted to an epic rank adventurer, somewhere else, where dragons fill the sky. The mother of dragons cradles one of the eggs when something catches her attention. She shouts, asking what's going on. A dragon bursts through the opening, making a racket. She finally says she gets it now. She didn't expect that woman to recover so fast. She carefully sets the egg on the ground, wondering why this is happening now. Then she hugs it and kisses it, leaving it gently as she tells her child to remember. Its father is a very special goblin. She starts drawing on her power, transforming, cursing the Holy Sword. She takes her dragon form. As she launches into the air, she says she'll settle this once and for all. Nearby, the Holy Sword presses forward, cutting down dragons one after another. Battle scars mark her legs. Then the mother of dragons drops in front of her. The holy woman says the dragoness finally showed herself, calling her Amethyst, mother of dragons. Amethyst says she can't believe the woman who got beaten by goblins got back up, and asks how she dares keep acting like a coward. The Holy Sword says she doesn't need her telling her how to act, but since she's threatening her people, she'll take her life. She charges in with a powerful attack and tells Amethyst to prove it. Furious, the dragoness unleashes her breath. The two attacks collide, and energy blasts across the battlefield. The man mutters that dragon is way too big. Then someone grabs him by the cape, yanking him back just seconds before the area shatters. The mother of dragons watches the move. The Holy Sword yells at him to get out of the way and stop being a burden. Amethyst roars and starts casting more spells. A massive pile of amethyst surges toward the Holy Sword, who blocks as best she can. One nearly nails the man dead on. He panics and curses. The woman uses the opening, leaping across the amethysts. When she reaches the mother of dragon's head, she unleashes a transcendent sword skill. She drops in, striking the dragoness again and again with Steel Storm. Nearby, a creature screams. An egg has just hatched. A tiny green dragon stares out over the landscape and roars for the first time. On the battlefield, someone is badly hurt. From atop a rock, the Holy Sword watches the mother of dragons, apparently defeated. She says she almost had it, that she aimed for the head but barely missed and took the eye instead. The mother of dragons, furious, curses her out and says she'll fight that crazy bitch to the death today. Then a voice yells, telling her not to dare hurt his mother. The little dragon swoops in, drawing both fighters' attention. The woman screams for her son to run, telling him to go to the place in his memory, because it's the only safe place. He watches the Holy Sword defeat his mother. Crying as he growls, he takes off. He tells his swordmaster to leave that little one with him and watch. Then he hurls several energy orbs at the dragon. The creature fires back, spitting at him. It hits him right in the face. He drops screaming and rolling. He grabs a potion and splashes it on his face. With his face all messed up, he curses and asks where that lizard is, because he's going to cook him. The Holy Sword says if he doesn't cause trouble, he'll be spared. It's time to go, because they might still make it in time to help with the goblins. The man tells her he can't move the boat with his magic, and says that dragon's fire should be able to eat away at the magic. Some time later, the little dragon cries beside his mother. He says he'll take her back to the dragon's den, that they'll find a way to bring her back, but he can't lift her no matter how hard he tries. He collapses. He lies there panting, then apologizes, saying he needs to devour her to regain the strength to bring her back. In the next moment, he growls in fury and starts flying around the area. Some time later, in the dragon's lair, that dragon gets there and lands. He looks around the place, his mother's head in his hands. Then another creature swoops through the air and drops on top of him, pinning him to the ground. His mother's head rolls away across the floor. That dragon reports to the Dragon King that they caught the weirdo. A huge red dragon watches and says, "That's Philbass's head." He steps up to the smaller dragon and asks who he is. He says it's his mother's head, that he found this place through inherited memories, and begs them to save her. The red dragon says there's no mistake, this was that woman's doing. and it's a shame Philbas inherited the Dragon King's power crystal. The Dragon King leans in for a closer look. Then he straightens and says he really is her son, but he's not a pure dragon, and asks who his father is. He says he doesn't know, but his mother told him his father was a goblin. Everyone around him is horrified. One dragon attacks, shouting that he's descended from a goblin, that it's a disgrace to the dragon race, and asks the king to leave him to him. The huge red dragon watches for a moment, then tells him to wait. He says that creature is the grandchild of the old Dragon King who's dead, and the whole dragon race has been reduced to this crystal dragon bloodline, so he has to be tested. The huge dragon says if he wants to save his mother, he has to survive and defeat the dragon at his side. That creature perks up, thanking him for giving him a little fun, then lunges and opens its massive mouth at the young dragon. In a flash, the young dragon dives straight into the other one's mouth. The dragons nearby freeze in surprise. It only makes his opponent angrier. He jerks upward and unleashes a blast of fire, screaming for help, saying that thing is biting his belly. Another dragon snaps that it's the king's decision. He has to win on his own, and they can't help. The next moment, the young dragon bursts out from inside the creature. He flies, thinking he survived, that he won, and that now he'll be able to save his mother. He lands. The Dragon King declares that from now on, he's a member of the Dragon's Nest, and his name will be Needhog. The young man asks if they're going to bring his mother back now. The king orders them to take Philbas's head to the World Tree. He says the head will be grafted into the tree's roots to create a wooden dragon, and that this is the only way to resurrect his mother. At the terminal, he says that even with all the losses, he still scored a huge victory. Lin thinks he's already made preparations to deal with the adventurers. The terminal asks if he wants to run a simulation, and our hero confirms by pressing the button. Everyone cheers, celebrating their boss's success. Our hero realizes that pile of bodies is enough to turn the surviving goblins into stronger heroic species. After devouring most of the bodies, the goblins reach level 50 and complete their evolution. One becomes a glutton goblin, another becomes a giant hammer goblin with power between 900 and 1000. The others become dark goblins with power equivalent to 1200. Lin thinks that's why they're hated. Goblins need to devour to level up, unlike humans, who only need to defeat enemies to level up, and it doesn't matter if the other side is from another race or group. Someone walks up and says he didn't expect him to be so resourceful. The vampire says it's been a long time since she fed on humans. She adds that as a reward she sent someone to find out where the saint is, and our hero asks her to tell him. She says that after she learned several adventurers died, she left the city on horseback, planning to call in the legendary adventurer party. She warns him to be careful, because she used to be a member of the Holy Sword. Our hero asks if she's outside the city, and says that's perfect, because he can finally get some fresh air. The vampire is surprised he doesn't seem scared, and that he even smiled. Suddenly a goblin comes running, calling for his boss, saying something bad happened. Not far away, a group of goblins from another tribe is coming to their cave, and our hero is shocked. He says there isn't a goblin tribe within hundreds of miles, and wonders if they could be the previous owners of this cave. Nearby, some goblins climb up the walls. Our hero watches from above with a few powerful allies. Down below, goblins gather behind a massive goblin leader. The huge creature barks at them to move fast and stop wasting time. A level 50 beast goblin, power around 800. Our hero wonders what kind of tribe this is. The leader's strong, but a rare hero like that should only be leading a squad. He orders them captured alive. They might be a special task force from a much larger tribe. His subordinate nods. Leave it to him. The goblins start crossing the water. Someone in the group asks what that smell is. The goblins insist they don't smell anything. He says maybe some food slipped into the cave, so they should get ready for a big meal. Then something moves. Fast. It lunges at the goblin leader. The big guy roars that there are enemies and tells everyone to get ready to fight. The goblins shout that they'll protect the boss. Another goblin bursts through the waterfall. The goblins scream, "A mutant! Run!" The leader of the attackers goes furious, and in the next moment he's watching his group get crushed. A small creature bolts, yelling that its nest was taken and it has to report to the Lord. A crossbow bolt snaps through the air. In the next moment, the whole group of attackers is subdued. Their leader curses under his breath. Wasn't this supposed to be a bunch of low-level goblins? He spits that they're useless cowards. Then he drops, defeated on poisoned ground. Our hero looks down at him, merciless. Some time later, the leader is chained to the wall, screaming to be let out and to get out of his way. He snarls, asking how a low-level thing like him dares question him, swearing he'll devour him. Our hero says he needs a social beatdown. The creature scoffs. So it's going to get beaten by him? It says he's a male like a wild animal, so why would he be afraid? 10 minutes later, work tools are scattered across the floor. The creature screams that it was wrong. It'll answer, it can't take it anymore. Our hero asks what tribe it's from, where the tribe is located, and why it's here. The creature says it's from the Beast King tribe in the Demon Forest. This used to be its boss's residence, and it was ordered to come back and retrieve something. Our hero asks what class their tribe leader is. It says a goblin lord, and soon it'll evolve into a dominator. Ling goes pale. The creature adds they're here to get something important for their lord. If he doesn't believe it, he can go look for himself. Our hero asks if it's treasure, a magic ring, made by a ghoul clan leader. It can seal an opponent's soul depending on their strength. Our hero didn't expect something like that to be lying around here. The creature says it already told him everything, and he already has a ring, so set it free. Our hero says of course, and grabs its hand. The monster panics, asking what he's going to do. Lin says he'll let its body go, but its soul will stay. Then he activates the magic ring, ripping the creature's soul out. The monster screams in despair. Our hero starts absorbing the soul. His strength jumps by 200. He thinks it's not much, but maybe swapping it for a stronger soul would change things. The beast tribe's total strength feels comparable to the human cities, and he can use them to deal with the humans. While he's working that out, the goblin hunter asks about that creature from the Beast King tribe. Our hero's surprised she knows the name, but she says it's normal. In a dark tone, she warns he can't afford to offend them. She explains the tribe is under the Great Tomb's jurisdiction, and even the Lionheart Empire isn't qualified to face them. Lion gets curious about this Great Tomb. The woman asks if he killed that thing. Then she explains the Great Tomb rules thousands of miles of the demon forest, and there's at least 1/12 world-class monster there. Our hero is curious and a little confused, but then he thinks he gets it. She then asks what he tells her what he wants to do, and asks for help controlling that thing with his power. Lion wants it to go back to the Beast King and report the ring was stolen. But he wants to twist the message, make it sound like it wasn't them who stole it, but the royal aristocracy of the Lionheart's empire. The woman is pretty shocked by the idea. Our hero adds that he planned it so he'd have the advantage of an ambush, and says to use the loader as a hostage to get more experience. Pleased with himself, he thinks while the fish fight. The fisherman benefits. Sometime later in the Lionheart capital, the noble humiliates him, saying their family's reputation was damaged by his actions, while he tries to explain himself to his father. He argues those goblins aren't just strong, they're smart too. He tells his father the Grey Hat squad was wiped out, and that his cousin is also alive, Pheromone. Furious, the old man demands to know how the family's eldest son could have been beaten by mere goblins, and says everyone is laughing about it. The young men throw themselves on the floor, begging forgiveness. Desperate, he blurts out that goblin is terrifying, but the old man tells him to get out of his sight, calling him pathetic. Then someone calls out to the count, telling him not to worry. The man says he's there to help clean up their family's reputation. Still irritated, the count asks what he wants, and reminds him the king ordered the soldiers to stay on standby, so they can't just mobilize them. He adds that the king already spoke with the sacred sword, asking what they themselves could do. The man says the count is thinking too small. If the sacred sword solves the problem, the king will think their family is useless. Does he want to be seen like that? Pheromone worries about that. The plan is to have his son report what happened to his majesty, and if each of them mobilizes at least 1,000 soldiers, the goblins will be defeated. The people around them tense up. Finally, that guy looks satisfied. He agrees and says that piece of trash is coming with him. Sometime later, back at the goblin's den, the creatures look a little scared as the desperate prisoner asks if he hit it. Our hero looks like he managed to hit the apple on his head. Lin is impressed the pistol works so well and that it wasn't a waste, while his elf companion is dying to use it. She begs him to teach her, and he finally gives in and says yes. Then someone calls for the boss, saying a huge troop of humans is leaving the city, fully armed. Another goblin says he found a huge number of goblins coming in, and it looks like the Beast King tribe. Excited, Lin thinks everything is going just like he planned. That creature reports to his boss that a human army took the ring and that he almost managed to get it back, but his boss calls him useless trash. The creature roars full of hate. The boss orders them to gather up and defeat the humans because he wants that ring back. On the other side, human flags rise and soldiers get ready for the fight. People in the city welcome the counts. Stammen asks where the holy sword is. The guy who had it says she had to take care of some things and asks why 2 counts are there. The count says since she's not around, he won't waste time with someone like him. The man snaps back that he's a brave dragon slayer who fought by her side. Smiling, the count shifts his tone and says they're there to kill the goblins. Then someone yells that something's wrong. From the shadows, the goblins come rushing out, ready to attack, and the soldiers wonder how they got past the walls. Cursing the goblins, the count orders the knights to attack and kill every last one of them. From atop his horse, he fights bravely. The knights seem to have the upper hand this time, and even that guy who is kind of useless is doing well. But in the next moment, it looks like our hero enters the scene, and he's enjoying it. The count wonders how these weak goblins could be a threat. He figures at this rate, the battle won't last more than an hour. Then a horse gets thrown far away. Our hero freezes when he sees the huge monster. The scene turns terrifying. That thing is the Beast King Goblin. Level 79 with 3,000 power. Our hero is shocked by how strong and how disgusting it is. The count panics and orders everyone to fall back. He wonders what that thing even is. Then reinforcements arrive. Lorna, the count's cousin, says they'll handle the big one so the soldiers can deal with the rest. The count tells her to be careful not to end up a loser like her brother. She charges the huge monster, and the group moves in with her. But the creature doesn't seem to feel a thing. It starts chasing everyone, just like the plan. Our hero thinks that's bad. If it goes that way, they might run straight into his tribe. He can only watch helpless. It's a shame, but that girl is in more danger than she can imagine. Not far from the city, the creature starts getting the upper hand. The annoyed group says its teeth will be the first trophy they take. Another guy tells them not to give up. They just need to make an opening for Lorna to land the killing blow. Facing the creature, the girl tells herself she has to win. She's the Academy's top example. Determined, she uses a martial arts technique against the monster. It strikes back with a powerful attack of its own. Our hero is surprised. The group has way less power than the monster, yet they're managing to keep it busy. The goblin is furious and demands how she dares attack it. Then the monster shifts tactics and uses a power. Our hero gets scared as it finishes the attack and unleashes the Beast King's roar. A man is flying over the battle with a dragon when they get hit by something. It's a sound wave, far fiercer than he expected. Xiao Huan gets stressed by the roar and his rider tells him to calm down. Someone drops to their knees. They collapse unconscious beside another man who's already been defeated. Beside her companions, Lorna wonders why this is happening, how a goblin that powerful could exist. Despair hits her. She says she can't handle it. She thinks of her father and teacher as she looks at the miserable state she's in. Now the gigantic beast stares at her, fury in its eyes. Terrified, the woman pees her pants and prays, "Help me." Right after that, a scream cuts through the whole forest. A group hears it and recognizes Lorna's voice. They believe something happened. A soldier tells his highness to calm down. Now they're the commanders, and nothing can go wrong. A figure with a red aura approaches. Someone asks what it is. It's the king of beasts. He's not alone. The young woman is with him, and she seems to have died. One of the men spots the girl. Furious, he demands the goblin give his daughter back. Another soldier tells the leader to return. They're about to win the battle. The goblin king watches, like he's waiting for something. That ruler leaps, closing in to strike with his sword. The other one grins and readies a punch. When the blow hits the ground, the man drops. The next moment, he's face first in the dirt. More blows land on that giant mass. Soldiers move in with shields raised, jabbing with spears. "Quick, Lord Hero, land your finishing blow," a warrior shouts. He focuses, doing his best, and forms a fireball. It spins fast in his hands. Then he steps onto someone's shield and launches himself up, over the beast. His strike passes right in front of its face, bursting into a blinding flash from the intensity. Goblins start running, thinking their boss is defeated. The man is exhausted. He looks at the king for a moment, face up, then starts shaking with excitement. He covers his face and lets out a deep laugh. He turns his back to the monster and tells his companions he won, that he's a true epic adventurer. But they don't react the way he does. Somehow, even though the hit landed, the enemy is still alive. Now it's the goblin's turn. It lunges to swallow the man and he realizes it's the end. The goblin clamps its mouth shut hard, ending the poor guy's life. It loves the snack and is ready for more. The warriors watch in horror. They call for Xiao Huan to come forward. His knight wonders if the goblin has started evolving. The creature raises an arm full of teeth. Its face looks even more monstrous, its teeth longer. It mutated. Now it's a level 80 brutal goblin. Its strength reached 3100. It stands as tall as the Supreme Lord. Even though it just evolved, its combat power won't increase that much in such a short time. But it's already terrifying as it readies itself to swallow another snack. The Goblin King watches it happen. As his soldiers get swallowed, they're finished. That guy took out the strongest ones. Someone has to dial this brutality back, or what's left for our protagonist tribe. Then the monster steps on one of its own followers. Desperate, the little goblin swears he won't run. The chief yells at the others, shaking with fear, not to run either. Anyone who dares take a step back will be punished. The brutal creature snarls at the pack that still bolts. They sprint toward the soldiers. The order comes down: retreat to the city and close the gates. The goblin army keeps running, and the beast orders them not to let the enemies escape. Lin watches from above. They went to the city. Looks like he's got an idea. He puts his hand to his mouth and whistles, giving a command to his dragon. The goblins are ordered to grab everyone there. Fast. Suddenly, a flash erupts in the distance. Lightning streaks low across the ground. The young man wonders if the other guy came back, then orders his group to hurry and retreat. Inside the castle, things aren't looking good. The chief tells them to leave. He'll make his fall quick. The man snaps that he doesn't have what the other one wants, so get on with it already. He's annoyed. Negotiating with them isn't worth it. No? The creature asks, then vanishes at the speed of light. A heartbeat later, it's holding that warrior in its hand. It demands to know what the human meant when he said he didn't have the ring. Lightning slams toward the beast and hits it cleanly. The creature opens its mouth as a sword points straight at it. Wounded, it watches what struck it land in front of it. Something rests calmly on top of the object. It's a person, balanced on the sword's tip on one foot. A strange blue power flares, catching the chief off guard. That power wraps around the creature and hits him, or at least it looks like it does. Someone grips a weapon. The one in charge is Marshall, a spear fighter with a weird black shadow over his arm and his weapon. Others join him. Emma arrives with Austin, who asks if there's really a need to act like that. Choked up, a man announces the Holy Swordmaster has arrived, along with members of the Hunters group. Meanwhile, in the city, our hero watches from the shadows. He didn't expect the Hunters Guild to show up now, and it messes up his plan to deal with that goblin. The fight rages in the middle of the city. That bizarre creature charges forward, unable to tell friend from enemy. After devouring that goblin, it shows a brutally savage ability. Devouring its own kind heals it fast. Lynn's surprised it has that talent, but judging by how many wounds it has, it'll take a while before it's fully healed. He's almost satisfied with the result. The adventurers mutter that the monster didn't die from a direct hit to the neck, but it's Lord class, so it'll take more. The creature seems to understand them. It tells them to wait, that it's just a simple goblin that doesn't want to fight. If they let it return to the Great Tomb, it'll make sure the goblins never come back. The Holy Sword asks if it's from the Great Tomb. The creature says yes, and blames that guy for taking the ring. But the guy swears he never stole anything from trash mobs like them. The Holy Sword feels something's off. It all ties back to that troublesome guy. Austin asks who she means. If it's that goblin from before. She says the goblin is from the Great Tomb, which is really far away, and none of this feels right. They ask if she thinks it was all set up so both sides would end up hurt. Her companion asks if a goblin could even pull that off. She says she doesn't care. It killed Stanman, and there's no taking that back. Austin grins, fired up, and asks them to let him handle the monster. The creature grows uneasy. Suddenly, a whirlwind of energy blooms right in the middle of everyone. The creature tries to shield itself. It uses the confusion to slip away. The holy sword covers her face and realizes where it's coming from. The dragon flies overhead, and there's our hero again. Lin thinks that goblin would make good food, and it'd be a shame if it died by their hands, so he's going to help it escape. He orders his dragon to go after that brutal goblin, but the holy sword won't let it get away. She curses at the goblin, refusing to believe it can manipulate the wind like that. She leaps after it, saying it has to be him. Then she unleashes a flurry of attacks at our hero, and he orders the dragon to dodge as they dive. He keeps flying, the woman glued to his tail. He knows the hits wouldn't kill him, but they'd still be trouble. With nothing else she can do, the holy sword can only watch the goblin slip away. She screams that no matter where it runs, she'll find it and kill it with her own hands. Lin can tell she's strong. He'll deal with her when he has a better chance. Something sprints through the forest. That brutal goblin smashes through every tree in its path and decides to hide out there before moving on. But inside, it catches something strange. It smells other goblins. It remembers that creature saying the humans stole the ring, and that man swearing it wasn't him. Then it clicks. That guy wanted the ring, and maybe he's still in there. It drives a heavy punch into the wall, cracking a way through. Inside, the elves are gathered, and that goblin asks what she should do if he comes in. One of them wants to go out and deal with him, but the other says the leader ordered them not to show themselves. Then the goblin hunter shows up and says it's fine. She adds that she believes in him, and that he wouldn't let anything happen to them. Suddenly something grabs that creature's attention, and it comes face to face with our hero, who's surprised it got there so quickly. He says it's not going to escape his hunting grounds. His dragon breathes fire on the creature. Right after, he readies his weapon and aims. The monster starts jumping to dodge, then attacks the dragon, hitting it dead on. Smoke billows, building the suspense. Then through it, he sees our hero, and on his finger, that magic ring. The creature demands to know how it ended up in that guy's hands. It snarls that this inferior life form stole his ring, and orders him to hand it over. Our hero plays dumb, holding up the ring, then asks what happens if he doesn't. The creature, burning with hate, says he's going to die. It charges again, leaping on top of our hero. The blow slams into the ground instead. Lin dodges easily. He mocks him, asking how that muscular body could ever keep up with him. Our hero springs forward and goes after the monster. Right then, he gains a brand new super skill, Remnant Howl. That creature screams in rage while the goblin just watches. Then he activates the new skill. In the next moment, he fires a powerful energy blast that sends the monster crashing to the ground. The creature lies there defeated as Lin walks up. It was a gamble, but he got the skill. Then a huge punch caves into his stomach. He goes flying and slams into a spot. The monster doesn't let up, hammering him with punch after punch while he blocks however he can. He checks the terminal. That goblin's strength is around 2100. He figures he's lucky it's still hurt from the fight against that group of adventurers. The creature can't believe he's withstanding the hits. It decides the food is making him stronger and stronger. With a quick feint, our hero strikes out of nowhere. It screams, furious. Feeling the blow, stunned it couldn't put him down. The next moment, it's the one on the ground, defeated. Our hero thinks there's no food left for him to recover now, and this time he's going to die. He says he only didn't kill him because he's still the last one. The huntress asks what he wants to do, seal his soul in the ring, but our hero says the plan didn't work. There was an intervention and he ended up exposed. He doesn't even mention that among them there's someone who can escape through the earth, and that he can easily find them underground. The huntress asks what he plans to do. Our hero asks if that isn't the guy from the Great Tomb, and says maybe it's better to use his story so he gets killed there. The huntress asks if it wouldn't be better not to get involved with those people from the Great Tomb, but our hero says it's the best way. Then he slips the ring onto his hand. He tells her to send word to the people of the Great Tomb and offer the ring so they can get revenge for his cruelty. She says there's nothing they can do. Then she says she'll do what he asked. Grabbing a weapon, she uses her ability on that creature and orders it to get up. The brutal goblin rises, saying his humble servant is more brilliant than his master and that he needs to carry out the king's command. Somewhere else, a group of goblins eats. On the terminal, it shows the host has accumulated 300 health points and can summon a level 6 monster that's completely obedient. He considers using that to protect himself, but decides a level 6 monster is about as strong as a brutal goblin, and the holy sword could take down 3 of those. He thinks it might be better to pick a skill and get stronger. Twisted Fusion can take parts of opponents and spread them out to gain new stats, but it can't gain innate abilities. Ruin Attack can disable holy abilities and weaken the opponent, while dealing high damage. Distortion combined with Jean's skill gets stronger, like Dragon Wings, or even fusing with Medusa's eyes and devouring her petrification ability. Ruin seems like the only way to break the holy system, but there isn't any monster he can fuse with right now. The Ruin swap worked. The host got the Miracle of Life effect and 3,000 of it came back. Lin is happy and surprised by what just happened, but the goblins don't understand anything. This solves the problem with the goblins' genes. Even his maids ask the boss what's going on. The young woman asks if he'd like to do something. The man says no, and tells the girl not to suggest that for a while. That human stole 2 weapons and is causing trouble, says a lackey. In tatters, the warrior apologizes to his family for hurting them. When the boss gets close to the prisoner, the other one drops to his knees and calls him by name over and over. Delirious, he asks if his father and the others are still alive. His father and sister were defeated by the Supreme Lord. Lin Tian says, laughing. The crazed man says he never should have provoked him or tried to act smart in front of him. He says he hopes she's still alive and can be rescued later. Then, all of a sudden, he runs and smashes his own head into the wall, collapsing unconscious on the floor. Lin Tian says he was tortured to the point of feeling moved and wonders why he couldn't just let it go. He says that after some time his hatred for him faded and he hopes that knife can ease his pain. Time passes. Later in the forest of the Great Tomb, that goblin calls for Lord Niu, saying he's the leader of the Beast King tribe, asking if he's home. Suddenly, a giant paw appears and scares the creature half to death. A colossal monster steps out of the cave, asking why he's calling. He explains he only went to take back from those humans what belongs to him. That huge creature is the man-eating ghost bull Niu. He says that item was made by the same ghosts of his kind, the Cheeky, and giving it to him is like returning it to its original owners. The massive creature takes the ring, examines it, and asks what he wants. The goblin asks for help, standing before that huge imposing creature. He explains he has a deal with the Holy Church, and they can't go into human territory. But he adds that he'll help him become a lord. He tells him to go get his revenge against the human race, and says he believes the immortals will back him. He adds it's been a long time since he ate human flesh. Time passes in that goblin den. Our hero checks the terminal, searching for something. He sees his info, level 70. He thinks that even though he trained and improved his skills, the Holy Sword has over 4,000 power, and it looks like he'll need Kanman to deal with it. But he thinks he's almost there, and together they manage to create a whole army of heroes. He thinks he can finally stop hiding. Then the huntress calls him and says the brutal goblin brought his men to the cave entrance and is waiting. As our hero heads there, the woman asks him to wait a moment. She hugs him and asks if he wants them to go to Guangming City with them. But he says there's no need, and that he's only going to fight the Holy Sword. So if something happens and he needs to run, anyone else would just get in his way. She says she ordered the brutal goblin to obey, so he better not let her down or she'll punish him severely. Lin says that's it, and it's not clear who's going to punish who. The woman watches him leave, thrilled. Our hero walks up to the huge goblin and asks if the friend he's looking for is a goblin with poor circulation. The massive creatures just stare at him, like he's found a group of ghosts that specialize in eating people. He says the most embarrassing part is this dominant goblin of the Phoenix class and things aren't looking good. Then the creature tells Mr. New not to worry because the goblin's strength is equal to his. It tells him to stop talking nonsense and show the way, and our hero just watches. Somewhere else, the monsters gear up for battle. They're warned there's a sword-wielding woman who's extremely powerful. The monster scoffs and says he likes tough food. An earthquake hits. The guards ask what that was until one of them tells them to look. A herd of ghost bulls comes charging in, and the guards panic. Screams for help echo across the city. Our hero wonders if they're really that scary, but decides the smart goblins are worse. Lin thinks this city will be his sooner or later. The bulls seem to be enjoying the attack, excited by the idea of fresh meat. But just as one is about to eat, a powerful strike slams it to the ground. The man who was about to be eaten falls back and looks up, and sees a group of adventurers and the Holy Sword. The older man asks why there are so many ghost bulls. Another asks if that isn't the guy from the Great Tomb. Annoyed, he says they should have dealt with him right away. The Holy Sword says it was her slip-up. Determined, she says she'll fix that mistake and charges straight at the creature. On the way, she cuts down a few ghost bulls. The moment she gets distracted, the monster attacks, blasting rubble and dust everywhere. But from inside the dust, the woman appears, holding the attack back. The bull can't believe it. Our hero watches from above and realizes they're evenly matched. While she's busy, it'll be better for him to act. Then something catches his eye, that man staring down the brutal goblin. The guy starts sinking into the ground saying he's going to kill that beast, and our hero thinks that's what he's been waiting for. He uses a power and fires a barrage of projectiles at him. No chance. The man goes down, the beast moves in to feed on him, and his companion notices Marshall's situation. She tries to save him and fires arrows at the monster, but a magical tornado blocks them. Confused, she asks what that was, and our hero appears, saying luckily he's got sharp skills too. He orders the brutal goblin to leave that guy to him and go help the ghosts, and the monster obeys. He steps closer to the man, excited, licking his lips, and uses his devour skill. The elf is horrified by what she's seeing. Nearby, the old man defeats another ghost bull, calling them cursed beasts. He leaps at our hero with a powerful martial arts technique, but our hero doesn't move. At the last second, he dodges, and the old man explodes with rage. Our hero uses a super skill, giving the warrior no chance to react. The elf cries out in despair. From above, she watches our hero feeding on her companions. The old warrior is defeated, and the woman can't believe this happened to her powerful friends. Our hero realizes he's finally reached level 75, and his power surges. Nearby, the elf readies her attack and fires, hitting him square in the shoulder. He didn't expect it, and he sees another arrow coming right at him. He barely dodges the volley. As he thinks about how lucky he was, he sees the elf won't give up on killing him. Again he dodges, and realizes he couldn't do it without the stone wall. He orders his subordinate to bring down the tower. The monster charges in and slams the tower with massive force, smashing it apart. The elf realizes she has to get out of there, while our hero is already preparing to strike back. He shoots his crossbow toward the woman. The elf flinches at the attack but dodges in time, hopping back across the area. Our hero sees she avoided it and decides to wait out her cooldowns before trying again. He takes off running like he's fleeing. She readies another shot and warns him not to think he can hide from her. He keeps dodging as best he can until he notices something's off. The elf isn't holding up anymore. Her strength is fading. She forces herself to push a little longer, but then she drops to the ground. That brutal goblin strides toward her, ready to devour her. Our hero snaps at him to move because she's his. He walks up to the elf and says she's got a strong spirit and it'd be a shame to eat her. Then he lifts her into his arms and carries her away. Some time later, the elf wakes up somewhere else and panics. The first thing she sees is our hero. She realizes she's completely tied up and can't move. Desperate, she asks what this goblin did to her. He tells her she'll find out soon. Somewhere else, the holy sword keeps fighting the ghost bulls. She takes another win, muttering that guy there was a bit tough. Then a loud noise pulls her attention. She sees Emma about to kill herself and sprints over to stop her. The girl collapses as the woman rushes in, and she reaches her in time, begging her not to die. The elf says all the others are gone. She tells Alice she doesn't want to give birth to a goblin child and asks her to get revenge. The bulls sneer that whoever eats her will become a new chief. But the woman grips her sword and stands, eyes burning. She glares at the creatures and says she's going to kill them. Then she suddenly drives the weapon into herself. Guards and monsters freeze in shock. A heartbeat later, she rockets into the sky, overflowing with energy, while the Count demands to know what she's doing. She orders all the soldiers to leave immediately, or they're going to die. Everyone bolts in panic, shouting that they've never seen anything like this, and that she's scarier than the monsters. In another part of the city, our hero senses something. He looks up and sees what the saint has become. All that holy energy tells him this is bad. The herd of ghost bulls hesitates, then runs, but the power is too much. The holy sword unleashes her ability and strikes them with the holy inquisition. The creatures are wiped out, and a massive rift tears open through the city. Afterward, she descends and returns to her normal form. On the terminal, her power reads 5,000. The city is wrecked. Our hero realizes he was lucky to get out alive. He thought she was a swordswoman, so why does she fight like a mage? He's stunned, calling her the unbeatable holy sword who will protect the kingdom with all her power. The soldiers cheer and pay tribute to her. But then she winces at the wound she inflicted on herself, and the terminal shows her combat power dropping to 2,500. Our hero looks satisfied. The woman says it's not over yet. The real killer isn't dead. She reaches for a potion, but a powerful strike slams in and cuts her off. Everyone reels. Then our hero finally reveals himself, standing atop a tower. Someone spits that he's a despicable person for a surprise attack. He tells her to tend her wounds and leave the rest to them. Our hero asks what he just called him. The man charges, shouting, "Despicable." A fraction of a moment later, he's already down. Our hero corrects him. That's not the line he wants to know. It's the one before that. He asks if he's realized he's a goblin, trying to make sense of it. The soldiers surge forward, ordering them to kill him and avenge the Duke. Our hero braces and drives straight through them, cutting them down with ease. One soldier yells not to hold back. They have to buy time for the holy sword to recover. He shouts for them to dedicate it in their hearts. The next moment, something punches through his armor. Our hero is suddenly right in front of him, arm thrust through. The soldier stares, unable to believe it, as the goblin leader finishes by saying he's free, but he's going to take his heart. The next moment, that knight is completely defeated. A huge hole punched through his armor. The holy sword sees it, goes furious, and charges our hero. He dodges and moves in to counter, but she's faster. She snaps out a kick he barely blocks, and the impact still sends him flying. Even with her power reduced, she's still hard to face. Feeling the pressure, he activates a power that hits all the soldiers and the woman. She flinches, surprised, then strikes back with her energy. Our hero dodges again, easy, and realizes monster skills aren't working on her. If this keeps up, both sides take losses, and in the end she's a holy type. She can suppress him. She attacks again, saying today they'll settle this once and for all. Lynn asks if she likes the feeling of failure. She leaps and tells him to shut his mouth. She hits hard, then realizes the goblin isn't there anymore and scans for him. She orders everyone to group up and kill him. Our hero grabs a soldier and throws him toward the girl. While she's distracted by the flying body, the goblin leader rushes in and drops the others. At least in speed, he's better, and he can still use bodies to dodge. The woman chases him, calling him filthy. Our hero wants to wear down her defense so he can use ruin magic. An hour of fighting drags on. Soldiers on the ground beg the holy sword to kill them because they can't take the torture. Our hero suggests they stop for today, and one soldier mutters he'll lose either way. The woman only gets angrier, telling him not to run, and attacks again. He uses another body as a shield. It's working. Soon she'll go completely crazy. She keeps attacking non-stop, and our hero keeps using soldiers as cover. Lynn likes the result, and tells her the way she kills people is better than the way she kills monsters. The woman is horrified. Finally, it hits her. In shock, she lets her sword fall. She's killed the very people she was supposed to protect. She looks like she's breaking again, and our hero thinks this is the moment. He readies his ruin attack. The next instant, he lands a direct hit to her chest. She drops to her knees as rain starts to fall, and her power scatters. She begs her god, saying it's not her fault, that she'll protect everyone. She asks if the gods have abandoned her, then collapses. Our hero knows that once she's contaminated by ruin, she loses her sacred power completely. He thinks they could join him, help him end religious superstitions and control this world. A storm rolls in with lightning, and our hero prepares to take care of his species' evolution. That mutant goblin runs up, warning that the church people are coming. It makes the goblin leader uneasy. While he's doing all this hard work, an army from the church arrives, knights called bishops of the Holy Cross. Our hero stands up fast in front of the pile of knights. The one who seems to be their leader looks at the woman on the ground and thinks she had an accident too. He sizes up our hero as just a small goblin, but he knows that weak, innocent look can hide enormous power. Typical evil. He orders his soldiers to obey in God's name and bring peace to the world. Filled with sacred power, they shout to purge the devil, and it makes our hero uneasy. The holy knights charge straight at evil, attacking without pause while he holds them off with his magic barrier. Our hero realizes that even in heavy armor, they're fast. On the terminal, he sees their strength is 3,000. The fight continues. He dodges as much as he can, thinking they really are powerful. No intention of backing down. So what? He prepares a new ruin attack. He hits one of them, and the others freeze in shock. The holy knight screams on the ground as his sacred power drains away, and the others shout to stay back. Our hero uses the opening to run. The knights now believe he really is a demon goblin. Lin panics that the church soldiers already have 3,000 power, and says it's time to change plans and retreat. The leader of the knights says they need to withdraw and that the child needs to be cleansed and guided by a priest, or she'll fall into disgrace. The soldier asks if the bishop isn't going to deal with the goblin plague, but he says it's already too late. He explains that, like the bishop said, God has already chosen a new servant, and there's no need to look for her anymore. Sometime later, our hero manages to get away. He notices most of the bodies were burned, but the ghost bull's body is still there, and he decides to take advantage of it. Back at his den, the girls ask how it went, if he won, and they notice he's gotten stronger again. Lin asks if they don't know and says the holy sword is his now. The huntress asks if he managed to defeat her and dominate her, and he confirms that's exactly it. He complains about being interrupted by the church people. Suddenly, the woman jumps on him, saying she knows he's perfect and that she's interested in him. He asks her to spare him because he has something serious to say. He explains that today's victory bought them time to grow, but they need a new sanctuary so they won't suffer human attacks or revenge. He says it'll be a place the church people won't dare to casually go. It's called the Great Tomb. Sometime later, the whole tribe gets ready for the trip, and our hero oversees the process. He thinks that there he can raise a huge goblin population, and since the church has a deal with the Great Tomb, they won't have problems. And now he needs more women. He tells the group the goal is to take prisoners. Anyone who resists, they can deal with however they want. A few days later, they got 230 women from 10 villages, but they needed more. He decides to go to other villages to get more people, and he reaches a small town. He heads toward it and orders everyone to get ready and keep moving forward. Someone says they're just looting goblins. Another says he killed enough goblins to make a mountain. Laughing, a soldier asks if people are scared of goblins and gets ordered to guard the gate. They say they're dangerous, but a man says they're just big and shouldn't be taken seriously. He says he could even handle some hero-type guy. He's a level 50 adventurer. The mayor tells everyone to get ready because they're coming. A soldier announces the goblins are coming, so the townspeople gear up. He suggests seeing who kills the most goblins, with a punishment for whoever kills the least. The man says he could handle it alone and tells the others to go rest. Then something makes everyone shake with fear. The man looks up and sees a huge dragon flying in. Our hero approaches riding his dragon while everyone trembles, wondering why there are dragons with the goblins. The soldiers start running, terrified, saying the sentries lied and these are clearly monsters. Our hero thinks it's interesting that so many people got ready for this, and tells them to attack. Moments later, the fighting spreads through the city. One of the men calls out that adventurer who said he could handle the goblins, but the man hides, asking if they're really goblins. Then a creature finds him under the table and by the looks of it takes care of him, leaving him defeated while saying he thought it would be fun. Sometime later, a group of monsters gathers. A huge bird asks if it's their first time entering the Great Tomb, and says the smell of humans will attract monsters from miles away. Lin says they reek so much that not even the goblins' smell covered them, and it's no surprise they were scared of the tomb for that reason. He tells him to remember to thank his lord this time, and says it's what he promised him. The creature asks why he has so many humans there. Shocked, it asks if they're all breeding tools for the goblins, and asks if he wasn't told about the contract between the Great Tomb and the church. Our hero tells him not to worry because they were all captured before they arrived. The bird says that's great, and if he has any questions to come find him, and he'll make sure they can develop peacefully there. Lin thanks him for his concern and says if he wants to come back he'll be welcome. The creature says then it won't be so normal, and that he'll warn the people in charge first. Our hero seems satisfied to be able to work in peace now, so he asks Gobleth if he counted how many there are. He says there are 3,000, but there could be more if they're produced again. Among the mutant and dominant species tested, none survived. Our hero comments that it seems he can't produce more of those species, so he leaves the hut. Now they need to capture animal-type monsters to boost the number of low-level goblins. He realizes it's easier to use the simulation system than to catch monster animals himself, so he activates it. The system shows a scenario. He captures some monsters for food and uses others to evolve the species, but he's shocked when the simulation has them ambushed by humans. He can't understand how they dare enter the Great Tomb. Then the simulation ends badly. He gets subdued, forced to flee with only a few members. defeated, so he knows he needs a way to deal with this. He goes to his subordinates and asks if they know where the human lords live. The creature says it's in the high forest area, and our hero decides this is his chance to solve the problem once and for all. A month later, he talks with his bird friend who says it's impossible for humans to reach there. He explains the Great Tomb has a contract with the church, but our hero says that on the other side he saw an army approaching, and with what happened before they might attack him anyway. The creature says he understands, but nobody there will let humans walk through the Great Tomb. Then he flies off saying he'll meet him there later, and that he's going to make a report. Lun thanks him. One of the knights says they're there to defeat the goblins once and for all. They're determined to enter the Great Tomb, and the soldiers back him up. A dragon flies overhead, and the man asks if that's a goblin riding it. Watching, he thinks it matches the intel exactly. He asks if the guy up there is the goblin boss who destroyed dozens of cities and villages. Our hero calls them out, asking if they forgot the contract between the church and the Great Tomb. The man snaps back that he's just a rat who ran away from the tomb, and they don't need to worry about any contract if they kill him. He points behind him and asks if they can see that army. He says it's there for revenge for Alice and for his grandpa. Our hero reads the situation and starts messing with him, bringing up the holy sword. The man explodes, yelling at him to shut up. Then he says he'll attack and turn everyone into dust. Our hero didn't expect him to get that mad that fast. One of the knights tells them to wait. The scouts still haven't returned, and charging in could be dangerous. But Line brings up the scouts and points out a man, asking if it's that one. 10 minutes earlier, the scouts were watching the camp, stunned by how many humans and monsters those people had enslaved. But on the way back, a group of goblins caught them. The leader orders all troops to listen up and move out to kill every goblin. The soldiers ready themselves to attack. The young guy starts shouting, asking if they're scared, saying that's what happens when you piss off a lion. Then another creature appears, asking if that's true, and the huge bird shows up, overflowing with power. The young guy yells that it's the man-eating eagle and tells everyone to be careful. The eagle man says it's been a long time since he's seen the church and asks if they forgot the contract offer. One of the knights says it's the Pope's order and he isn't qualified to negotiate. The eagle man says he isn't qualified to be arrogant much longer and he'll crush him himself. The knight says he's there to wipe out the goblins and he doesn't care what happens after. But if the eagle man dares to stop him, he'll die. He spurs his horse and orders the soldiers forward. The creature rises into the sky, saying they're treating the Great Tomb like a place they can come and go whenever they want. The knight asks if the Great Tomb decided to protect the goblins. The eagle man says he can believe that. Yes. The knight goes silent. He tells his majesty to pull back with the troops, but his majesty doesn't buy it and wants to kill that guy. The knight says it isn't running away, it's preparing for a bigger battle. From above, our hero watches the organized army. He says the Lord made a huge mess just because of him. The eagle man says it's not because of him, it's to show the church they're not afraid. The eagle man says a lot of them are excited about this. He tells him to grow his tribe quickly, and if he becomes a goblin king, he can enter the royal tomb. Lin perks up at that, saying the resources in there are really good. At the church, people protest the holy sword and demand the goblin's death. I don't get how that woman can be holy. She's disgusting. The man in charge is already fed up with the goblin problem, and now this. Someone mutters that on one side it's her, and on the other it's the people. He storms to a door, calls for Alice and yanks it open, then freezes, furious at what he sees. Inside, the woman is caring for a small goblin. He says he never imagined she'd end up like this because of a goblin, and that he would have dealt with it earlier. He tells her to move aside or he'll hurt her. They swing at the child. The woman steps in front, catches the sword with her bare hands, and demands to know what his majesty thinks he's doing. He says it's for the people's interests and the future of the empire. He has to bring her back to the right path. She draws a weapon and squares up to him. He's stunned by her stance. She asks if he's really going to do this to her. Then when nobody expects it, a massive wave of holy energy slams into her. Not even his majesty saw that coming. The cardinal appears and says he used super high-level holy skills. In the next moment, he conjures holy bars and traps her. His majesty tells him he can handle it himself, and to look at her. Desperate, she screams that she'll accept any punishment from God, that she doesn't have any power anymore. The cardinal says God didn't abandon her, she abandoned God. He tells her to leave the goblin with him, calling her Princess Alice. Then he starts pouring holy power into the boy while the mother watches, helpless. From behind the bars she screams, "No!" Outside, the people celebrate. They say they finally got rid of the monster and ask where that damn holy sword is. The kid gets tossed at those men's feet. Someone says they finished what was asked. He warns that anyone who says anything slanderous about the holy sword will face the consequences. The crowd goes quiet, scared. The next day, someone rushes in looking for his majesty and reports that Alice has disappeared. The man panics. Somewhere else, a mutant goblin is thrilled. Now he can use magic. The other goblins in the tribe get excited too, talking about eating to get stronger. Our hero says it can't be like that. They need to take the initiative and get stronger, but they're afraid to go out. Lion asks if they really think he's safe. So desperate, they agree to go outside so the boss won't get mad. Another monster says it needs to release that power and that it'll help. Our hero thinks he set them up and they still want to eat for free. Then something catches his attention. His friend Eagle Lord shows up and says he wants to recommend a lord. Our hero says he'll be happy to meet other lords. He's already excited about meeting a few more people he can blame later. The Eagle Man says he hopes he doesn't mind. It's the person behind him. It's the Golden Lizard Lord. Our hero checks his power, almost 4,000 and level 88. Still, he figures it's not a big deal. He asks if the creature is interested in humans. The lizard says humans are delicious, and suggests they split them. But the eagle man questions him. He'd said he'd accept one when he was accepted by him. The lizard says everything there belongs to them, and asks what a goblin would even be worth. Very little. The eagle man says the final word in that area is his. The creature tells him to stop messing around. He says the eagle man has never eaten humans before, and that he's been fair enough. They should eat now. Our hero cuts in and tells him to stop bothering, saying he doubts he could even eat all that. The lizard snaps, asking if he's talking to him, calling him inferior. The eagle man steps in front of our hero and says it's the last time he'll say it. Leave now or you won't come back in one piece. The creature says if he wants the humans for himself, he can offer to kill the goblin and then they can have the humans. The eagle man strikes first. Furious, the creature says he's done it now. But one day the eagle man won't be around, and he'll come back to destroy everyone. Then the creature retreats. The eagle man apologizes. He didn't know he'd be so ambitious. He says what the leader of the Great Tomb could do if he wanted that guy dead. They could condemn and punish him, or they could let him become the lord of the lizardmen's lands. Thinking it over, he realizes he could summon mythical creatures like that, but he wouldn't be able to kill monsters whenever he wanted like he does now. He says he wouldn't lead them even if they begged. Nearby his subordinates feed, and he realizes he's evolving. He feels bigger, stronger. He tests his power on the trees and gets excited when he sees how much it's grown. Nearby, a small creature comes to a lake to feed. A hand suddenly shoots out, grabs it, and drags it to the bottom. Someone remarks it looked young, but it's already a meter long. They say it tastes good and smells nice, almost on par with human meat. And just like that, it seems to get an idea for how to get more food like it. In the creature's village, a lizard complains that woman's son keeps hanging around and is going to get caught. She brushes it off, saying her husband is a lord and he'll handle it. A voice suddenly asks if they're looking for this. The woman turns toward the brush. A skeleton gets tossed at her feet. She freezes, horrified. She screams, demanding to know who he is, shouting that this is a lord's territory. The goblin asks what that is, then tells her to forget it because she's very pretty. An armed lizard rushes in, asking if he dares disrespect the lord's lady. The creature lunges to attack, but one of the mutant goblins drops him easily. The goblins are clearly gaining the upper hand. The woman calls for help as he says he'll take her to the boss. The tribe realizes the goblins are invading and the lord isn't there. They still grab their weapons and brace to defend themselves. The creatures charge in, furious. The goblin, pumped, answers with a devastating strike. The other mutant goblin finishes off the rest of the lizard men. In the end, they start feeding on the creatures. One tries to ambush him, but they answer with another powerful attack. He tells them to head back. They're already full, and the boss said not to wipe them all out, to give them time to recover. Now they take a prisoner. One of the survivors cries out for his lord, saying where he might be. Heading back, the lizard man asks if this is his tribe. Another lizard sprints up, yelling for him to hurry and save his wife and daughter, because the goblins took them. He can't believe it. He just came from the goblins' tribe, and he doesn't buy that they could butcher them that fast. The lord sniffs the air and catches a mixed scent. His wife and the goblins. He bolts, cursing those miserable goblins, swearing he'll crush every last one. Back at the tribe, someone yells for the boss to come over because they brought good stuff. Our hero gets curious and realizes they've evolved. He's impressed they've come that far. He keeps sizing them up, trying to figure out how it happened, running through theories. He also thinks he can equip them with better gear to make them stronger. Someone suddenly screams, telling the damn goblins to let them go. A woman declares she's the lord's wife, demanding how they dare capture her, threatening to tell the lord to kill them all. He grabs her by the head and tells her to behave. Excited, he says he brought this to his boss, one young and one older, depending on his taste. Our hero wonders where they got them, especially with all this talk about a lord. He asks if they aren't the lizardmen from the cursed temple. The woman says he's right. Her husband is the lord. She asks if he's scared now, but says it's way too late. Lennon asks if it was the lizardmen's lord who threatened him and said he'd kill his whole tribe. The woman goes pale as he repeats the threat. Then out of nowhere, he draws his weapon and strikes one of them, knocking her to the ground. The goblin leader says those two belong to them. Everyone lights up, thanking him and praising their boss. The creatures run around, fighting over who gets to go first. Lennon asks what they did with the rest of the tribe. His underling says he devoured most of them, but left a few alive so they could breed again. Lin looks a little surprised. The goblins tense up, thinking they did something wrong. But he says it was splendid, laughing as he congratulates them and calls them great entertainers. The creature says his boss is flattering him, and that he's only doing his duty. Lin thinks he'd really like to see what that lizard man is like after seeing his tribe. Back at the tribe, the lizard is furious, cursing the goblins and demanding his wife and child back. Then he sees something he really doesn't like, a pile of goblins feeding on his beloved people. He knows right away it's his wife and his daughter. Our hero walks up and says he showed up a little late. The creature says that today he won't leave anyone from his tribe standing, and this debt will be paid back in full. Then he spits on our hero. Lin fires back, landing a clean hit. Before it can recover, he's already rushing in and driving a strike into its chest. The monster realizes too late, jumps back, and clamps a hand over the wound. He demands to know what the hell that was, saying he blacked out for a moment. Our hero says if the lizard wants to die, he'll help, and reminds him this is the East, he can't summon monsters here. The furious lizard says he doesn't need other monsters to kill them all. He draws on his power. The wound starts to close. He grows stronger. more terrifying, and finally asks what the goblin can even do against him. The other goblins get excited and warn their boss he doesn't look easy to deal with. Our hero starts mapping out how to take him down. Then in the next moment, a weapon pierces the monster's chest. Our hero doesn't understand what he's seeing. The creature is sliced from head to toe. Behind it stands the holy sword. Tattered, with an empty stare, she says she finally found him. The goblins panic. She's in their tribe and they're sure she'll kill them. But she doesn't look like she's in any shape for that. And the next moment she collapses. Lin's stunned. Even exhausted, with a crappy sword, she still killed the lizard in 1 second. He figures he's lucky she's unconscious. His underlings want to take the chance to kill her, of course. In the name of their boss, the other two just stand there like they're watching something important. Our hero says she's passed out, and the other one freaks out too, asking who even said she was going to be killed. He says she's worth way more alive than dead, watching her lie there unconscious. Night falls on the tribe. That female goblin seems to check out the woman a little, and gets excited, saying she's really soft and stretchy. Slowly the holy sword starts reacting, and our hero says it's been a long time since they last saw each other. She doesn't seem scared. She starts yelling that she's seeing goblins, that she finally found him, that it's wonderful. The tribe leader tenses and tells her not to do anything rash. She's far too weak to beat them. She forces herself up anyway, shouting "goblin" over and over. Our hero can't figure out what's wrong with her. He yells at his underlings to do something. They weren't raised here just to stare, and orders them to hold her down. The big guy steps in and grabs the little rope holding her, but the next second she slips free. In a blink, she's right in front of our hero, catching him off guard. His servants panic, saying they're done for, and the boss is going to die because of them. Then the woman drops to her knees. That throws him. She tells him she's not there to fight. She just wants him to give her another child. No one can believe she's begging for that. Our hero asks if she thinks he's some kind of god of childbirth. She says she's serious. The hatred between them can end, but only if he gives her another child. Otherwise, she won't forgive him. Our hero asks if she had his child before and what happened to that kid. She begs her god to forgive her for not finishing her punishment. She says it was all the damn villagers' fault and begs for another chance. Lin realizes she thinks the child is a punishment from God and it's driven her crazy. Really, she's just trying to avoid the fact that she killed someone. Our hero says God is furious because she killed some of her own tribe, but there are conditions if she wants to have his child. The desperate woman says she'll accept anything. He says she has to listen to him at least during he tells her to accept the atonement period and understand this is her punishment too. He figures she'd make great combat power. She says if it's God's punishment, she'll carry it out properly. That satisfies him, and he tells everyone else to leave. The woman starts getting ready and begs him to help her. The goblin leader says that since she's asking for it, he won't hold back. She seems to be enjoying it a lot. The vampire tells the hunter to stop messing around. That woman is the sword saint, the strongest of all time, so she doesn't believe it. But then she freezes when she sees the woman asleep and asks how that could have happened. The hunter says she'd like to know what kind of mess this would cause if the info reached the Empire. Someone asks Lin what he plans to do with the woman. He says to keep an eye on her so she doesn't run, then take her to change clothes and take a bath. The woman says she'll do it now and leaves. Lin asks how many humans died from disease and tells them to prepare the bodies today because he has a use for them. He figures the lizard man's death might draw the Tomb Lord's attention, so he needs to meet the Eagle Man again. He goes to the Eagle Man's tribe, and they seem surprised by what happened. His friend says he doesn't need to explain, and that if he takes the lizard man's place he can still explain things to the Great Tomb. The goblin says he's not interested in becoming a lord, and asks if one of his underlings can take command instead. The Eagle Man says it's not impossible, but it's risky if he sends subordinates in his place. Lin asks why. The Eagle Man explains there's a demon competing for the position, now that the lizard man is dead. He thinks he could beat it, but his subordinates probably couldn't. Lin perks up at that. The creature is a monster that controls dreams, and through them controls people. The Hawkman adds it isn't very strong in combat, so it shouldn't be able to defeat the lords like that, which Lin finds interesting. He thinks it could be useful to influence the holy sword through her dreams and make her obey him, so he tells the lord to take him to it as soon as possible. He wants to work with it. Sometime later they reach the demon's lair. A creature appears and asks who needs some good dreams. It's surprised to see Hawkman and asks what he's doing with that goblin. Lin says he wants to negotiate. He'll let the demon be the Lord of the South if it helps control people's dreams. The creature asks how a goblin dares make that request. The Hawkman says the lizard it could never defeat was defeated by him. The demon laughs like it doesn't believe it, but then asks whose beautiful dreams he wants to mess with. Lin says it's just a human. His friend asks if he really plans to make it a lord, and warns him about the other lord he wouldn't be able to beat. Lin tells him to wait, because he just thought of another plan. The lord explains this demon has no physical body, and can't be devoured, and it could end up killing anyone who won't cooperate. Lin remembers his ability to take part of enemies and merge it into himself. He says normal goblins can't do that, but he can. He tells the demon to come with them so they can discuss the details, and says he needs to understand the principles of its power to use it to the fullest. The demon explains that as long as someone dares to look into its eyes, no one escapes its control, unless they realize they're in a dream. Lin gets excited and says he wants to see whether dreams are more powerful than the blade. The Hawkman warns him not to look into its eyes. The creature uses its power on Lin, and he goes slack like he's in a trance. Then he collapses, unresponsive. The demon decides he overestimated him. Lin wakes up somewhere else near a volcano. He gets irritated as the ground cracks and he drops into the lava. The demon laughs and says he can't escape, that he'll stay in the dream and die. Then it asks if he still wants to kill it. Len suddenly fires an attack at it. The creature can't believe it and demands to know how he did that. Len says he set a trap, and that in these dreams a person only dies if they believe it. Len asks if that's his ability. He adds it's a great trick but it won't work on him, and charges the demon lord. He lands a heavy blow. The creature, starting to fall apart, wonders how that's possible. Then to Len's surprise it curses him and swears it won't forgive him, as the fight keeps going. Len raises his weapon and fires again. This time the creature collapses. He doesn't waste time. He bites off a piece of it and takes its dream ability. The monster stares at him, terrified, as its body starts to change. A moment later, Len fully acquires the power, leaving his Hawklord friend stunned. The Hawkman steps closer, worried, asking if he's okay. He says Len scared him, asks how he did that. But the goblin only says they're ready to go. And now that the demon's been defeated, Len says he has the perfect goblin for the position. His friend tells him not to worry, that he'll speak for him. Sometime later, back at the goblin tribe, the Holy Sword sleeps peacefully. Our hero uses his new power to slip into her calm dreams. He takes her to a place where people demand a goblin's death and her punishment. The whole city humiliates her and calls for her to be punished. He realizes it's the dream where he was humiliated by everyone, and it's exactly what he wanted. A strong light appears, an angelic entity descends. Everyone starts worshipping, convinced it's God, thrilled to see it. They accuse a woman of being a demoness who defiled what's sacred. They point at her, demanding she be punished and killed. A huge hole opens behind her. She throws herself to the ground and begs God to save her by forgiving her. The angelic being reaches out and bathes the people in holy energy. He asks if she understands the sin she committed. She says she knows she killed people she was supposed to protect. God says that's a lesser sin. If she gives birth to a goblin and raises it, she'll be forgiven. She asks if she committed other sins. He says she protected a group of demons. He calls them selfish, greedy, and starts listing their ugly traits. And for that sin, he says she'll never be forgiven. Desperate, she insists she was protecting them. She looks back and those creatures twist into demons. God says that without them, her teammates wouldn't have died. The demons start spitting vile things at her, pushing her into despair, chanting for her death. She snaps, she screams for them to shut up, and charges. She strikes them again and again, giving them no chance. Then she drops to the ground and tells God she killed them. The entity asks if she sees it clearly. Now, they wanted protection, but never once thought about protecting her. And when she collapsed before the church, they were the first to attack. She freezes, shocked, then says she understands. They touch hands. He tells her that from now on she's responsible for wiping out these demons. She asks how she can get God's power back. He says only when there isn't a single demon left. He adds that he sent a messenger to help her on her mission, and tells her not to forget. The Holy Sword rests. Our hero is surprised, not expecting to be this tired. Now she won't be called that anymore, the man says. Later he tells her to eat and get ready to carry out God's mission. She asks how he knows that. She still doesn't believe she's standing in front of someone important. He says God's will must not be revealed. She's stunned, wondering if the one from her dreams could really be that goblin. She asks what they'll do next. He only says when the time comes. Even at level 60, with not even 100,000 power, she pushes herself to improve. She says she's only studied magic for a year and doesn't have much experience. Our hero tells her her talent is impressive and shouldn't be wasted. The goblin leader says it's a good city for looting and more, firing up his subjects. Then he tells them to get ready to leave as his soldiers celebrate. He knows there's a mage there with plenty of magic tomes, and asks what. He keeps him and grabs a bunch of books so she can study. The woman thanks her lord over and over, until someone shows up asking if they're leaving for battle. She's fully dressed in armor, and our hero says she really came prepared. Alice says it's a mission for her. God, of course she was going to prepare. Those demons caused 10 years of pain, and now it's time to pay. Sometime later, they reach the city, and some event is going on. One of the creatures asks what all those people are gathered for, and our hero says it's some kind of celebration. He tells her to go back to camp while he goes to investigate. Down below, the ceremony continues. His granddaughter Avril is about to become the city's new lord, the youngest in history. Everyone celebrates. She thanks them for their support, says she'll be better than her grandfather, and promises she'll never let them down. Then she adds that if anyone knows about the Sword Saint, they should tell her so she can send her back to the church to be properly punished. The people cheer like they're in a trance, convinced she's amazing. Her grandfather watches, proud. Up above, our hero sits on his dragon and sizes it all up. He didn't expect they planned to capture the Holy Sword. Still, he gets excited. They'll have her soon. Nearby, the goblin army gets ready, and the elf asks how things look. He says the city has 6,000 soldiers concentrated in the castle, and it's the perfect time to attack. He orders the goblin berserker to smash the gate, now, and they start advancing. The goblins use a log to break in. The soldiers freak out, shouting that they need to report to the lord, but the next moment they start getting taken out. The elf girls seem to like these guns more than their old bows. The city gate finally gives way, and the invasion begins. Our hero issues orders, and the city goes up in flames as the new lady realizes what's happening. Explosions rip through the streets, and people scream warnings that a dragon is coming. She tries to take control, but no one listens. Up above, that mage watches everything and leads his army to face the goblins. For a moment, the young girl is shocked they're goblins. Then she relaxes. Low-level monsters. They'll finish this fast and grab a drink after. She tells everyone to push forward, and since it's her birthday, she'll hand out food and drinks as gifts in the Klein family's name. But nearby, it's not looking good. The goblins are getting the upper hand in every way. Above the city, our hero and the mage lock eyes. The old man realizes this must be the goblin who brought down the holy sword. Our hero says he didn't expect his fame to reach that far. The mage says it's no surprise he's trouble, but asks if he's thought about the consequences. The old man activates a magic crystal, and a massive rock comes flying at our hero, catching him off guard. He kicks his dragon into motion and dodges while the man focuses. Then our hero says, in that case, let him give him a present, and heads straight for the young mage girl. Everyone panics and runs. The meteor keeps falling as people scream. The lady knows this is bad, but our hero sticks to his plan. The dragon breathes fire at the spot where the meteor is about to hit. The woman casts a superclass spell, opening a time-space gap, and banishes the meteor. Then she freezes. She can't see the dragon anymore. The mage stares, shocked, and says it's impossible the creature is still alive. Our hero says his granddaughter is very capable. Otherwise, the castle would have been reduced to ashes. A wounded soldier staggers up, saying he can't hold on anymore, and the mage heals him. Suddenly, a flame rushes at them, but the old man reacts fast and blocks it. Annoyed, he tells the goblin to stop playing tricks and fight properly. Our hero asks if he's trying to make him feel guilty. Goblins don't have morality. The old man's expression tightens. He underestimated them, and they might lose. He orders everyone to fall back to the castle and defend from there. They sprint inside in a frenzy. The gate slams shut behind them. The soldiers mutter that those guys are clearly an elite force. Someone brings up the holy sword and wishes it were here, but the lady says she won't let anything happen to them. She says it's a powerful fortress, and nobody's setting foot inside. Outside, the goblins start getting pushed back, and their leader orders a retreat for now. Please, the lady says they handled a bunch of goblins and they won't be back, and the old man adds that the enemy is weak. The young girl asks if that was the one who beat the holy sword. If she beats him, she'll be stronger than him, right? The mage urges her to do it. Lin didn't plan to wipe them all out, but since they were reckless, he tells her not to blame him. The woman laughs, calls him arrogant, and asks if he's still dreaming about turning the tables. She signals a few subordinates, tells the strongest one to follow him, and orders the others to wait. One mage panics that the enemy is coming, but the woman says there's an unbreakable magic barrier. A goblin steps in front of her and tells his boss to leave it to him. He readies an attack and strides up to the barrier, and the old mage curses under his breath, thinking the protection won't hold. Then the magic barrier starts to crack. Inside, terrified people beg for the holy sword to be there and protect them. Our hero says they don't want to leave the castle, so they'll force them to. The fight drags on and the goblins take the advantage. The soldiers want to go out and save the people, but the mage stops them. That's their last fortress, and they can't risk it. He can't believe the barrier he spent years creating is breaking this easily to goblins. People shout that their families are outside. They say they're going to protect them, and they start gathering more people. They surge toward the door as the soldiers try to hold them back. The lady demands to know what they're doing and promises she'll protect them. A glow behind her makes her turn. She sees some of her subordinates lying on the ground. An elf blows on the barrel of her gun, then lines up another shot with her companions. The old man asks why elves are mixed in with goblins, and how these attacks can be so accurate and powerful. The young woman says humans used to trade elves as slaves, and now it's time to settle the score. Annoyed, the mage casts a spell, but it's a protective one. He tells his granddaughter to fall back, because it won't last long. A soldier reports the back exit is blocked by goblins. The old man wonders how these goblins can be so strong. Is the secret just a ton of steroids? Our story ends here. If you want a part 2, leave a like and comment. See you next time.